Chapter 1243. Bai Mu is the most devilish genius among this batch of newcomers. Many people have their eyes on him. Rumor has it that he has the potential to join the 4 sections. 1. Kong Chen whispered to Chu Fengmian. Heavenly Pavilion Continent? Chu Fengmian didn't know about the Mu clan, but he had heard of the Heavenly Pavilion Continent. It was a 4th-ranked continent. A 4th-ranked continent in the starry sky was already considered one. No wonder why this person was so devilish. He was a genius from a 4th-ranked continent. Since he was called Young Master Mu, it was clear that he had a great background. It seemed that even the disciples of the Sacred Dragon's secret domain had to curry favor with him. Although the disciples of the Sacred Dragon's secret domain had an extraordinary status outside, ordinary disciples still had to curry favor with a genius from a 4th-ranked continent. Looks like this Sacred Dragon's secret domain is full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. This is only a newcomer. According to Hua and the others, a newcomer's strength would increase by at least 3 times once they officially join the Sacred Dragon's secret domain. If young Master Mu's strength increased by 3 times, it would be equivalent to having 60 worldly laws. This would surpass countless second tribulation true emperors and could barely be considered as a 3 tribulation true emperor. If he went to some of the weaker continents, he would be considered a big shot. Moreover, this was only the strength that young Master Mu had displayed. Chu Fengmian felt that this was only the tip of the iceberg. If young Master Mu went all out, Chu Fengmian would be in a bit of trouble. Unless Chu Fengmian also used his full strength, it would be very difficult to defeat him. Oh? Another newcomer? While Chu Fengmian was observing young Master Mu's gaze suddenly shifted towards Chu Fengmian. The disciples of the Sacred Dragon's secret domain had a jade badge hanging on their chest to indicate their identity. Those who didn't have a badge in the Sacred Dragon's secret domain were newcomers who hadn't passed the assessment. 5 worldly laws? Battle Dragon bloodline? Not bad, you have some potential. I can use you. Young Master Mu glanced at Chu Fengmian as if he wanted to see through everything about Chu Fengmian. However, he could only see through Chu Fengmian's performance. The previous elder couldn't see through Chu Fengmian's concealment. Young Master Mu naturally couldn't do it. Young Master Mu, it is this person's fortune to have taken a liking to him. A Yao god standing beside young Master Mu laughed heartily when he heard this. This demon immortal was from the Tiger Clan. Although there weren't many Tiger Clan members in the ancient monster continent, they weren't uncommon on many continents where demons reigned supreme. The Tiger Demon God looked at Chu Fengmian, then suddenly walked over. Kid, young Master Mu is looking at you. Why don't you hurry up and come over here to work for young Master Mu? To be able to work for young Master Mu is a blessing that you could never ask for in your entire life. The Tiger Demon God said arrogantly to Chu Fengmian. Which continent are you from? What's his name? Chu Fengmian, Ancient Monster Continent. Chu Fengmian replied casually. As for why I'm working for young Master Mu, forget it. I'm used to being alone, and I'm not used to working for anyone. Humph. The Ancient Monster Continent? It's just a mere 7th-ranked continent. It's said that no one has been selected to enter the Sacred Dragon Mystery Plane for 100 years. I never thought that one would come this year. When he heard about the Ancient Monster Continent, the Tiger Demon God's eyes were filled with disdain. Although he wasn't from young Master Mu's background, he was still from a 6th-ranked continent. The difference of only 1 rank was like heaven and earth. He naturally looked down on Chu Fengmian, who was from a 7th-ranked continent. One had to know that different ranks of continents produced different geniuses. This was because the cultivation techniques, martial skills, and secret techniques were all on different levels. Young Master Mu was the best example. He was from a 4th-ranked continent and had yet to enter the Sacred Dragon Mystery Plane, but he was already stronger than many ordinary disciples of the Sacred Dragon Mystery Plane. Kid, do you know young Master Mu's background? Working for young Master Mu is something that many people dream of. How dare you refuse? The Tiger Demon God frowned when he heard Chu Fengmian's refusal. Be sensible and come over here and kneel. From the tiger demon god's tone, it was as if it was an honorable thing to work for young Master Mu. This made Chu Fengmian's face turn cold. Chu Fengmian never stirred up trouble, but he wasn't afraid of others provoking him. Not interested. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. Scram! Kid, what did you say? The tiger demon god was enraged when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. In an instant, surging spiritual energy was about to erupt. Even a ferocious tiger slowly condensed behind his back. This ferocious tiger was his original form, just like a ferocious tiger that was about to hunt. Stop! This is the cave palace, not a place for you to fight. If you want to fight, go to the life and death arena. The old man who had been silent all this while suddenly spoke. In any case, he was the person in charge of managing this immortal's cave palace. Fighting in this immortal's cave palace was completely inappropriate. Moreover, you are not disciples of the sacred dragon mystery plane. Anyone who dares to break the rules will die. Forget it. Hearing the old man's words, a voice suddenly sounded. Young Master Mu's eyes flashed coldly. He glanced at Chu Fengmian, then shook his head at the tiger demon god. Only then did the tiger demon god stop. They were still newcomers who hadn't even passed the test. It was indeed inappropriate for them to challenge the authority of the sacred dragon mystery plane at this time. However, today's enmity had been sowed. Kid, you're very arrogant. Anyone who dares to be arrogant in front of me, Hugu, must die. The tiger demon god stared at Chu Fengmian and said coldly. We have plenty of ways to kill you in the sacred dragon mystery plane. Is that so? Facing the threat, Chu Fengmian's face was calm and indifferent. Come then. After saying that, Chu Fengmian had no intention of fighting. He moved and left the palace without caring about young Master Mu. Hugu watched Chu Fengmian's back disappear before he couldn't help but look at young Master Mu and ask in confusion. Young Master Mu, why didn't you let me teach him a lesson just now? Young Master Mu will definitely be the king of this batch of newcomers. Whoever dares to defy your orders must be taught a lesson. Of course I must teach him a lesson, but not now. Young Master Mu's eyes flashed coldly. With his background and talent, almost all the geniuses from different continents would voluntarily submit to him and work for him. However, Chu Fengmian's actions today were a slap to his face. He wasn't young Master Mu if he could swallow this humiliation. Find a few people to rob his cave palace and teach him a lesson. Yes. Chapter 1244. Chu Fengmian, you'll be in trouble if you offend young Master Mu. Kongchen said to Chu Fengmian as he left the palace with Chu Fengmian. Young Master Mu is narrow-minded. Since you rejected him today, he'll definitely find a chance to take revenge on you. Although there are some rules in the sacred dragon's secret domain and he won't dare to kill you, most of the elders will turn a blind eye to the fights between disciples. Come if you want to take revenge on me. Chu Fengmian smiled when he heard Kong Chen's words. He didn't care about young Master Mu. If young Master Mu wanted to court death, Chu Fengmian would fulfill his wish. Thank you for the journey. Take these spiritual stones as my repayment. Chu Fengmian's palm suddenly moved and 10 spiritual stones appeared in his palm. He handed them to Kong Chen. Spiritual stones? I don't lack. Just as Kong Chen was about to refuse, he suddenly felt an incomparably pure spiritual energy. Looking over, a trace of shock flashed through his eyes. The 10 spiritual stones in Chu Fengmian's palm were milky white. Upon closer inspection, there wasn't even a trace of impurity. This kind of spiritual stone could only be found in many ancient continents. It was extremely useful even for many emperors. Saint-grade spiritual stones? Kong Chen swallowed the words that he wanted to refuse. Before becoming Emperor Gu, Saint-grade spiritual stones were extremely useful. Not only could they be used for cultivation, but they could also be used to set up formations and activate spiritual weapons. Even Emperor Gu would want to get their hands on them. To him, 10 Saint-grade spiritual stones would be of great use when he broke through to the next realm. This is too expensive, Kong Chen said hesitantly. 10 saint-grade spiritual stones were enough to buy some rare items that were of great use to emperors. It wasn't a small amount for him. It's all right. You've helped me a lot. 10 spiritual stones is nothing. Chu Fengmian said casually. Now that he had the divine pulse, he could condense saint-grade spiritual stones anytime and anywhere. Chu Fengmian couldn't take out a large number of saint-grade spirit stones, but he could easily take out a few hundred or a few thousand. All right then. After hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Kong Chen hesitated for a moment before accepting the saint-grade spirit stones. After all, 10 saint-grade spiritual stones were of great use to him. Moreover, judging from Chu Fengmian's appearance, it seemed like Chu Fengmian didn't care about these things. How can the warriors of the ancient monster continent be so rich? Could it be that this person also has a shocking background? Kong Chen looked at Chu Fengmian curiously. The ancient monster continent was only a level 7 continent. Sacred grade spiritual stones could only be found on level 4 and above continents. However, Kong Chen was only guessing. Every warrior had their own secrets, so he didn't want to ask. I'm at the human sect hall. If you need anything, you can look for me. Kong Chen looked at Chu Fengmian and said with a smile. Then I'll take my leave first. Kong Chen said as he arrived at Heart Scar Peak. All right then. Chu Fengmian nodded and leaped into Heart Scar Peak. Every mountain in the Sacred Dragon secret domain had a unique restriction. These restrictions were so strong that only 7 tribulation emperors could set them up. Even Chu Fengmian couldn't force his way in. However, when Chu Fengmian approached, the jade talisman suddenly flickered and opened a path in the restriction in front of Chu Fengmian, allowing Chu Fengmian to enter. As soon as he stepped into Heart Scar Peak, Chu Fengmian felt a surge of spiritual energy. The spiritual energy here was so rich that Chu Fengmian gasped in amazement. It wasn't inferior to the huge spiritual spring that Chu Fengmian found under the Sky Connecting Tower. There seems to be a unique spiritual spring under Heart Scar Peak. That's why there's such rich spiritual energy here. Chu Fengmian observed for a while and said, in such a rich environment, there must be a spiritual spring under the ground. With the existence of the spiritual spring, Chu Fengmian could continuously absorb the spiritual energy here and turn it into spirit stones for his use. This was much faster than accumulating spiritual energy bit by bit. However, if that was the case, the secret of Chu Fengmian's divine pulse might be discovered by the experts in the Sacred Dragon secret domain. The divine pulse could be said to be Chu Fengmian's biggest secret apart from his second life. Chu Fengmian had heard of the legend of the divine pulse in the ancient demon continent. However, in the history of the ancient demon continent, there wasn't a single divine pulse warrior or divine pulse demon god. This was enough to prove the scarcity of the divine pulse. Once it was exposed, it would bring disaster to Chu Fengmian. Anyway, the spiritual spring was here and couldn't run away. If Chu Fengmian needed a large amount of spirit stones, he could come back to draw more. My cave abode should be this one. There were hundreds of cave abodes of various sizes surrounding Heart Scar Peak. Most of these cave dwellings had already been set up with restrictions. It seemed like they already had owners. The cave abode indicated by Chu Fengmian's jade talisman was on the upper level of Heart Scar Peak. Logically speaking, the closer one was to the peak, the richer the spiritual energy and the more people would fight for it. However, Heart Scar Peak was the exact opposite. Most of the warriors and demon gods would take the initiative to choose the cave abodes near the foot of the mountain. Although the cave abodes near the foot of the mountain had less spiritual energy, they would be less affected by the heart demon. It was said that the heart demon could appear at any time while cultivating on the mountain. Once one was affected by the heart demon during cultivation, it could be fatal. Another newcomer? Seeing Chu Fengmian's arrival, many warriors and demon gods in the cave abodes extended their spiritual senses to observe Chu Fengmian. Interesting. I heard that this person rejected young Master Mu's invitation. Someone dares to reject young Master Mu's invitation? Seems like another genius from some small place. He thinks he's invincible and is so arrogant. It's all right. Many warriors and demon gods in Heart Scar Peak have submitted to young Master Mu. He'll suffer. Many of the onlookers looked at Chu Fengmian with sneers. News sure travels fast. Chu Fengmian heard the discussions and smiled casually. Young Master Mu might be a figure in the eyes of others, but to Chu Fengmian, anyone who dared to provoke Chu Fengmian was dead meat. Boom! Chu Fengmian moved and stepped into his cave abode. At the same time, he set up restrictions and sealed the entire cave abode. Chapter 1245. Once inside, there was a whole new world inside. From the mountain peak, he could see that each cave residence only had a single door. However, once he entered, he would arrive at a separate small world. The hundreds of caves on Heart Scar Mountain were at least hundreds of small worlds. Truly worthy of the sacred dragon's secret realm. Such extravagance. Chu Fengmian couldn't help but sigh. With his current strength, it was actually a piece of cake for him to create a minor world like this. However, there were so many caves in the sacred dragon's secret realm. There were tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of them. Especially in Heart Scar Peak, most of them were newcomers who had yet to participate in the assessment. Even the 7 great sects of the 9 domains combined wouldn't be able to do this. There was a stream inside each cave. It wasn't water that flowed through the stream, but pure spirit energy that condensed into spirit liquid. It seemed to be drawn from the spirit spring. This was where the rich spirit energy came from. Let's see what the heart demon of Heart Scar Peak is. Chu Fengmian didn't mind the legendary heart demon of Heart Scar Peak. Chu Fengmian observed the surroundings and sat next to the stream. He closed his eyes and began to slowly absorb the spirit energy. The spirit energy of Heart Scar Peak was extremely pure. If it was directly condensed, it wouldn't be inferior to a king's spirit stone. With a bit of refinement, it would turn into a king's spirit stone. A large amount of spirit energy was devoured by Chu Fengmian's body. 5 minutes passed by. The moment Chu Fengmian started to cultivate, a black shadow slowly appeared in his mind. The appearance of the shadow caused a ripple in Chu Fengmian's mind. It was as if a suppressed heart demon was about to break out of his body. This is a heart demon? A heart demon left behind by a 9 tribulation emperor? Chu Fengmian looked over and saw that the shadow was a man. Just by looking at his back, it was enough to see how peerless and invincible this person was. None of the existences that could reach 9 tribulation true emperor were weak. They were all supreme geniuses, 1 in 100 million. However, looking at the black figure now, Chu Fengmian couldn't feel his peerless invincibility. Instead, it was a kind of resentment. This resentment turned into an inner demon after death. The moment Chu Fengmian began to cultivate and gather spiritual energy, the heart demon would appear to stop him. In the field of cultivation, the most taboo was the appearance of inner demons. Inner demons were enough to cause a cultivator's cultivation to go berserk. Even an Emperor Realm Master would be greatly affected by inner demons. Sure enough, the moment Chu Fengmian began to cultivate, the heart demon appeared and began to shake Chu Fengmian's mind. However, Chu Fengmian's mind was extremely tenacious. Having lived 2 lives, his mind was practically unshakable. Stop pretending. Show yourself. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly and suddenly grabbed it. The black shadow didn't expect Chu Fengmian to be unaffected. It hurriedly tried to retreat. But how could he leave in front of Chu Fengmian? Chu Fengmian suddenly attacked. The black shadow was torn apart by Chu Fengmian. From the black shadow, the appearance of a man slowly appeared. Chu Fengmian knew that this was the true appearance of the heart demon. It was just a black shadow, a disguise. The heart demon has become a king? When Chu Fengmian saw the man, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. The heart demon was born in the mind of every human and every demon god. It could be said that every human had a heart demon. However, the existence of the heart demon had always been an illusory existence. Not many people had really come into contact with it. Of course, there were many martial arts techniques in the world that used the heart demon as a means of attack. For example, the Great Heart Demon technique that Chu Fengmian had seen before was one of them. However, it was only one of the weakest means to control the heart demon. It only triggered the heart demon of a demon god. For a person with a mind like Chu Fengmian, such a means was simply meaningless. Chu Fengmian could kill his own heart demon at any time. Outside of triggering the heart demon, the most powerful way to do so was to remove it from the body and refine it into a heart demon king. Once a heart demon king appeared, it could control the heart demon of millions. In the past, there was a heart demon true emperor in the 9 realms who used the heart demon Tao to become an emperor. The moment he became an emperor, he removed the heart demon from his body and refined it into a heart demon king. Many Emperor Gu didn't dare to oppose him due to the influence of the heart demon king. After all, if the heart demon king were to trigger the heart demon king's heart demon at a critical moment, it would lead to death. Later on, the heart demon true emperor provoked the sword Tao Lord and wanted to use the heart demon to control the sword Tao Lord, the number 1 of the 9 realms. Afterwards, the Lord of the Sword Tao had slain him. The Lord of the Sword Tao had also captured and suppressed the Lord of the Heart Demon before destroying it. Back then, Chu Fengmian had seen the Heart Demon King with his own eyes. That's how he learned about the Heart Demon King. This young man was none other than a Heart Demon King. It was no wonder why he could turn Heart Scar Peak upside down. Even if he didn't do anything, he could still trigger the Heart Demon King's Heart Demon King. Chu Fengmian could even feel the inner demons in his body stirring. However, under Chu Fengmian's tenacious mind, they were firmly suppressed, unable to affect him at all. However, although they were both inner demon kings, this young man was completely different from the inner demon kings Chu Fengmian had seen before. This heart demon king was created by the heart demon true emperor using his own heart demon secret art. On the other hand, this heart demon king didn't have a master. In other words, he was born on his own. Looks like the 9 tribulation true emperor was close to the celestial being level. That's why the heart demon king was born. Chu Fengmian couldn't help but sigh. Such a character was indeed close to transcending the realm of cultivators. The heart demon king left behind was enough to affect the heart scar peak for tens of thousands of years. As long as this heart demon king wasn't eliminated, it would continue to affect heart scar peak. It was no wonder that the experts in the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension did not intend to provoke a mental demon king. After all, even if several ancient emperors joined forces to suppress the mental demon king, both sides would suffer great losses. Chapter 1246. If he wanted to suppress the king of the inner demons, he would trigger the retaliation of the king of the inner demons. At that time, even if it was the ancient emperor, it wouldn't be a problem. Suppressing a heart devil king was a lose-lose situation for both sides. Furthermore, the king of mental demons only affected heart scar peak. That's why it was delayed. Of course, this might not be a problem for others, but it was a good thing for Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian had heard that heart demon true emperor was only a minor character when he first became an emperor. It was indeed rare for an emperor to become an emperor with a heart devil. Later on, Heart Demon True Emperor became famous because he fought against Emperor Gu right after becoming a 1 Tribulation True Emperor. The gap between a 1 Tribulation True Emperor and Emperor Gu was unimaginable. It was like the difference between an ant and a true dragon. Heart Demon True Emperor used his Heart Devil King to kill Emperor Gu. From then on, he became famous and no one dared to provoke him. Even Emperor Gu had to back down before him. In the end, he fell into the hands of the Sword Tao Lord and was destroyed. The Emperor's strongest move was his creation, the King of the Inner Demons. When facing an enemy, a cultivator must be fully focused. This was when their resistance to Heart Devils was at its weakest. Even Emperor Gu wouldn't be able to stop this Heart Devil King. It wasn't any weaker than Heart Demon True Emperors back then. If Chu Fengmian could control it, it would be a great trump card that could catch his enemies off guard. Suppress. Thinking of this, Chu Fengmian didn't hesitate to divide his spiritual energy and suppress the King of the Inner Demons. Since Chu Fengmian had encountered the King of the Inner Demons, it was a good opportunity for Chu Fengmian to subdue him. Buzz 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 buzz. Feeling the suppression of the spiritual energy, the Heart Demon King revealed an incomparably angry expression. As a Heart Devil King, it didn't have a mind of its own, but it had developed instincts. Seeing that Chu Fengmian was about to suppress it, it became furious and unleashed its terrifying Heart Devil power. Under the power of the inner demons, even many ancient emperors couldn't suppress the inner demons within their bodies. Chu Fengmian's mind was in a state of chaos. Even some of his inner desires were beginning to stir. He couldn't wait to kill someone and turn them upside down. Anger, greed, fear, lust. Countless emotions appeared in Chu Fengmian's mind, wanting to control him and turn him into a puppet of the Heart Devil. Throughout history, many peerless experts did not die at the hands of others. Instead, they were controlled by their own inner demons and turned into puppets of their inner demons. Chu Fengmian could feel that these countless emotions were trying to drown him and take control of his consciousness. You want to affect me with a mere inner demon? I've experienced death, what's there to be afraid of? Chu Fengmian shouted coldly. His expression instantly calmed down. His mind was as firm as a rock. Even the myriad of emotions couldn't affect him. In an instant, Chu Fengmian attacked again. Countless dragon claws aimed at the Heart Devil King and suppressed it. The Heart Devil King's most powerful ability was its strange Heart Devil. His strength wasn't very strong. Chu Fengmian wasn't affected by the Heart Devil at all. The Heart Devil King didn't expect this. Instead, Chu Fengmian's counterattack began to suppress the Heart Devil King. Under this suppression, the Heart Devil King kept roaring. Countless phantoms appeared around Chu Fengmian. These phantoms looked exactly like Chu Fengmian. They were the Heart Devils that Chu Fengmian had been suppressing all this time. Under the instigation of the Heart Devil King, these Heart Devils were all awakened and attacked Chu Fengmian. Sword. Chu Fengmian unsheathed his sword without batting an eyelid. With a single slash, the Heart Devils that had condensed were all killed. One slash to kill the Heart Devil. Any Heart Devil couldn't withstand a single blow from Chu Fengmian's Dao Heart. Don't struggle anymore. Heart Devil King, submit to me. Chu Fengmian looked at the Heart Devil King with a trace of coldness in his eyes. Suddenly, he attacked again. The power of the natal sword origin erupted. The power of creation enveloped the Heart Devil King. Although the Heart Devil was strange, there was no existence in the world that couldn't be destroyed by creation. Even if it was a Heart Devil, it had to be destroyed. Enveloped by the power of creation, the Heart Devil King seemed to have fallen into a state of fear. As the Heart Devil King, he should have been immortal. But now, under the power of creation, he felt destruction. Submit to me and serve me. In the future, I will let you be reborn and become a true body. Chu Fengmian stared at the Heart Devil King and said coldly. It's life or death. Under Chu Fengmian's scolding, the Heart Devil King seemed to be considering. Then, he slowly withdrew his spiritual power and knelt in front of Chu Fengmian. The Heart Devil King would undoubtedly die if he continued to fight with Chu Fengmian. Now, he chose to submit to Chu Fengmian. Very good. Chu Fengmian looked at the Heart Devil King and relaxed a little. Fortunately, the Heart Devil King had existed for a long time. Now, the Heart Devil King didn't seem like an instinctive Heart Devil anymore. He had some consciousness, which was why he felt fear and chose to submit. This would save Chu Fengmian a lot of trouble by forcibly subduing him. However, Chu Fengmian's firm Dao Heart was the nemesis of all Heart Devils. If the Heart Devil King continued to fight with Chu Fengmian, he would be subdued sooner or later. From now on, you will follow me and serve me. You will cut through all obstacles. In the future, I will grant you a true body. Chu Fengmian looked at the Heart Devil King and said majestically. His words carried enormous weight. The Heart Devil King was actually an illusion. All things could become gods. If the Heart Devil King was strong enough, he would be able to condense a true body. At that time, he would no longer be a Heart Devil. Instead, he would be no different from a martial artist or a monster god. When the Heart Devil King heard Chu Fengmian's words, he seemed to be looking forward to it. He nodded at Chu Fengmian and moved into Chu Fengmian's body. The Heart Devil King was lodging in Chu Fengmian's body. As long as Chu Fengmian gave the order, he would be able to help him. Chapter 1247. What a great opportunity. 1. Chu Fengmian was overjoyed to have subdued the king of the inner demon. He had just arrived at the sacred dragon mystery domain and had already encountered such an opportunity. With the help of the king of the inner demon, Chu Fengmian's strength would improve further. However, only Chu Fengmian could obtain such an opportunity. Many experts in the sacred dragon mystery domain knew about the existence of the king of the inner demon on Heart Scar Peak. However, even if they knew, they had no intention of subduing the king of the inner demon. Even the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu might not be able to escape unscathed from the king of the inner demon. Especially for the Nine Tribulations Emperor Gu, breaking through to the diviner realm was his ultimate goal. The path to the diviner realm was thousands of times more difficult than stepping into the sovereign realm. Once the influence of the inner demon was left, there was a chance that one would be doomed eternally after breaking through to the diviner realm. Therefore, even a Nine Tribulation ancient emperor would not take the initiative to find trouble with the king of the inner demon. Only Chu Fengmian had the confidence to subdue the king of the inner demon with ease. His Tao heart was invincible, and he was the nemesis of the king of the inner demon. "Kid! Get out here!" While Chu Fengmian was still rejoicing over having subdued the king of the inner demons, the earth quaked and the mountains swayed. His expression changed. Someone had set up a restriction in front of Chu Fengmian's cave abode. Shouts and curses could be heard from the outside. Courting death? A murderous look flashed across Chu Fengmian's eyes. It seemed that someone had really come to court death today. Chu Fengmian's figure moved and slowly disappeared from the cave abode. There were already 7 or 8 warriors standing outside. These warriors looked like this batch of newcomers, but they all had jade talismans engraved with the word Mu hanging on their chests. They're from the Emperor Mu Association. Seeing the word Mu on their clothes, many onlookers retreated, not daring to provoke them. Emperor Mu Association? What's their background? Some of the newcomers were puzzled. Young Master Mu, you don't know? One of the newcomers beside him couldn't help but ask. Young Master Mu? Perhaps he was not familiar with Emperor Mu, but he had heard of Young Master Mu's name before. Among this batch of newcomers, there weren't many who hadn't heard of Young Master Mu's name. After all, Young Master Mu was a genius from a 4th-class continent. Whether it was his background or his strength, Young Master Mu was already standing at the peak of this batch of newcomers. The Emperor Mu Association is the force established by Young Master Mu. More than 50% of this batch of newcomers have chosen to submit to Young Master Mu. The warrior explained while looking in Chu Fengmian's direction. This kid actually provoked the Emperor Mu Association. This is going to be troublesome. I heard that this kid rejected Young Master Mu's personal invitation. Another martial artist sneered at the side. In front of his chest, there was also a jade talisman with the word Mu carved on it. It was obvious that this person had also joined Emperor Mu's society. Who do you think Young Master Mu is? Even though he personally tried to recruit him, this brat didn't give him any face. How arrogant. But this is the Holy Dragon Mystery Plane. Aren't there rules? Private fights are not allowed. The martialist who had asked the question at the beginning spoke hesitantly. Rules? Will these rules have any effect on Young Master Mu? Young Master Mu's background is extraordinary. I heard that one of his brothers is already a core disciple of the Holy Dragon Mystery Plane. Even many elders have to be courteous to Young Master Mu. These rules are nothing. The man from the Emperor Mu Association spoke disdainfully. Look at the consequences of going against Young Master Mu. Senior brother Xia, that kid still hasn't come out. Standing outside Chu Fengmian's cave abode, several martial artists were working together to attack the restrictions of Chu Fengmian's cave abode. Under the repeated attacks, the cave abode kept shaking. Humph, I thought that the one who dared to go against Young Master Mu was some big shot. Turns out he's just a coward. The man who was called Senior Brother Xia spoke with a cold look in his eyes. Young Master Mu said to teach this person a lesson. Trying to hide inside? Let's shatter all the restrictions and see how long he can hide. Yes. Hearing senior brother Xiao's words, the other warriors from the Emperor Mu Association attacked together again. They gathered their spiritual energy and attacked Chu Fengmian's cave abode. But this time, before they could attack, a huge war dragon claw appeared in the air. The claw suddenly fell, and the warriors who had just gathered their spiritual energy to attack Chu Fengmian's cave abode were sent flying. I'd like to see who dares to attack my cave abode. At the same time, a figure slowly appeared. He casually glanced at the surrounding practitioners and spoke with disdain. Get lost. Chu Fengmian's words changed the color of the crowd. Countless warriors looked at Chu Fengmian in disbelief. He was a member of the Emperor Mu Association. In the newcomer territory, who dared to provoke the Emperor Mu Association? Although the Emperor Mu Association had just been established, many official disciples of the Holy Dragon Mystery Plane did not dare to provoke them. Senior brother Xiao was even considered a small leader. Chu Fengmian's words to tell them all to get lost was indeed extremely arrogant. What a fierce brat. He's just an Immortal Realm brat. How dare he clash with the Emperor Mu Association? Isn't he courting death? A warrior from the Emperor Mu Association said disdainfully. How arrogant. No newcomer has ever dared to speak to our Emperor Mu Association like that. Senior brother Xia and the others questioned Chu Fengmian after hearing his words. A cold glint flashed across their eyes. You're Chu Fengmian. Why ask when you already know the answer? Chu Fengmian said casually. He could tell at a glance that these people were recruited by young Master Mu to cause trouble for Chu Fengmian. Of course, Chu Fengmian would not be nice to such a group of people. They were just a few quasi-emperors. These people were not even Luya. The strongest among them, senior brother Xia, had only gathered 5 laws of heaven and earth. People like ants were not worthy of Chu Fengmian's attention. After Chu Fengmian finished speaking, his mind moved. A wave of spiritual energy began to gather behind Chu Fengmian. Just when everyone thought that Chu Fengmian was about to attack, this wave of spiritual energy suddenly transformed into a throne. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Chu Fengmian sat on the throne and looked down at senior brother Xia and the others. It seemed that he did not care about them at all. Arrogant. Too arrogant. Chapter 1248. Conjuring a throne at this time was a blatant indication that Chu Fengmian did not take the Emperor Mu Association seriously at all. Although the Emperor Mu Association was not very powerful in the newcomer's land, many people would rather die than join. That was because the Emperor Mu Association was too overbearing, seizing cave abodes and snatching resources. All the cave abodes in Enlightenment Peak were now occupied by the Emperor Mu Association. Such an action naturally caused many people to be dissatisfied. However, when they thought of young Master Mu, they could only suppress their dissatisfaction and did not dare to let it out. However, many people still looked at Chu Fengmian worriedly. After all, the Emperor Mu Association's arrogance was not without support, not just because of young Master Mu's background. The strength of the Emperor Mu Association was also their capital to be arrogant. Senior brother Xia's strength alone was one of the best among this batch of newcomers. You few, are you young Master Mu's men? How dare a few pieces of trash disturb my cave abode? Chu Fengmian sat on the throne and looked down at senior brother Xia and the rest as he spoke calmly. Looks like you're all tired of living. Chu Fengmian, you're about to die, and you still want to be arrogant? A disciple of the Emperor Mu Association could not help but shout angrily when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. Who do you think you are to go against the Emperor Mu Association? In this batch of newcomers' land, anyone who dares to go against the Emperor Mu Association will die. Is that so? I can kill you with that sentence, but I won't kill you since this is the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm. Chu Fengmian suddenly opened his eyes and locked his gaze on that disciple. Just his gaze alone was enough to cause one to tremble in fear. Kneel down. Suddenly, an illusory figure of a battle dragon appeared behind the throne. The massive dragon aura enveloped the area. Before this dragon aura, the face of the disciple of the Union of Monarch Mu who had spoken earlier changed and his heart was filled with terror. His legs turned to jelly and he knelt in front of the throne. What technique is this? Many martialists were still gasping in amazement at the might of the war dragon projection. When they came back to their senses, the arrogant association of Emperor Mu's disciple was kneeling before Chu Fengmian. That's Ming Sheng. I know him. He's a genius from the Ming clan of the Five Elements continent. He was actually unable to resist the might of the dragon and knelt down. Countless eyes in the crowd were filled with shock. Everyone's hearts were in a state of shock. At that instant, Chu Fengmian remained seated on his throne. His dragon might alone was enough to suppress a half-monarch realm genius without making a move. It should be known that suppressing a quasi-emperor was even harder than killing a quasi-emperor. This was especially so for the quasi-emperors who had come to the sacred dragon mystery realm. Which one of them was weak? They were all peerless geniuses from various continents, and each of them had the ability to fight above their level. But now, he was suppressed so easily in front of Chu Fengmian. Suppressed by the dragon might, Ming Sheng was forced to kneel on the ground. His face was flushed red with anger. To suppress him like this, to kill him, and to make him suffer even more pain, this sort of humiliation was something that he had never experienced before. I'm going to kill you. Ming Sheng suddenly roared. With a punch, he wanted to tear apart the dragon might and stand up. Chu Fengmian couldn't help but look askance at this scene. Indeed, those who could come to the sacred dragon mystery realm were all rare geniuses. Even a first tribulation true emperor would be suppressed by this draconic aura, but Ming Sheng was still able to shake it a little. Unfortunately, he was only able to shake it a little at most. Still want to resist? Kneel properly. Chu Fengmian remained seated on his throne, but the shadow of the war dragon behind him became more and more solid. In an instant, the dragon might that enveloped the area became 10 times stronger. Ming Sheng, who wanted to resist a moment ago, was once again suppressed by the dragon might. He knelt in front of the throne, unable to turn around. Chu Fengmian, you're too arrogant. Senior brother Xia shouted angrily. He couldn't hold back anymore. Chu Fengmian had forced Ming Sheng to kneel in front of them. This was a slap to the face of Imperial Union Mu. At the same time, senior brother Xia was also a little surprised by Chu Fengmian's strength. In his opinion, Chu Fengmian should be just a little guy in the immortal realm. He wasn't a big shot at all. Any one of them could easily defeat Chu Fengmian. But now, Chu Fengmian's strength was beyond his imagination. Let's attack together and suppress this brat. After senior brother Xia finished speaking, he took the lead and punched. In an instant, his fist turned into a gust of wind that filled the sky. With one punch, there were tens of thousands of gusts of wind. Senior brother Xia's martial Dao was close to the peak. It was a level that many Emperor Realm Masters had not reached. Once these geniuses from the Saint Dragon mysterious domain stepped into the Emperor Realm, their strength would not be inferior to a second or 3 tribulation true Emperor. The peak of martial Dao. As expected of senior brother Xia. Many of the Imperial Union Mu's disciples exclaimed. Then, they looked at Chu Fengmian with sneers. How dare he go against young Master Mu? He's dead meat today. With young Master Mu's status, even if we kill him, the sacred dragon's secret realm won't punish young Master Mu. Young Master Mu is merciful today. He's not going to kill him, but he's going to punish him. Suppress him and make him kneel. Another Imperial Union Mu's disciple sneered. In an instant, 7 or 8 Imperial Union Mu's disciples attacked Chu Fengmian together with senior brother Xia. You're courting death. Chu Fengmian only shook his head when he saw the attacks. When the gust of wind from the gust of wind blasted toward him, he finally moved from his throne. Chu Fengmian slowly raised his hand and brought it down. Rumble. Above Chu Fengmian's head, a battle dragon claw condensed and descended from the sky, abruptly descending. The battle dragon claw condensed at an extremely fast speed. Many people were unable to clearly see when the battle dragon claw had appeared. Rumble. After the initial shock, everyone felt a kind of fear in their hearts. The battle dragon claw swept through everything. The gust of wind from the gust of wind was shattered in front of the battle dragon claw. The combined strength of countless Imperial Union Mu's disciples was not worth mentioning in front of the battle dragon claw. They were easily shattered. Suppress. Chu Fengmian casually shouted the word suppress. Chapter 1249. All of this happened in an instant. The arrogant disciples of the Society of Monarch Mu were easily defeated by Chu Fengmian in the blink of an eye. They were even suppressed and forced to kneel in front of the throne. As for Chu Fengmian, he sat on his throne with a calm expression on his face. It was as if, to Chu Fengmian, this was merely a trivial matter that he had done in passing. It was simply not worth mentioning. It did not even bring him any joy. This is too terrifying. Is he still human? Many people in the crowd stared at Chu Fengmian with their eyes wide open, not knowing what to say. Martial artists and demon immortals from the Holy Dragon Mystic realm were all exceptional geniuses. They were even the top geniuses of a continent. However, even they were extremely shocked when they saw Chu Fengmian make a move. Just like that, Chu Fengmian sat on his throne. From the beginning of the battle until the end, Chu Fengmian had never left his throne. With a wave of his hand, the disciples of the Society of Monarch Mu who were besieging Chu Fengmian were easily defeated and forced to kneel in front of Chu Fengmian. Even senior brother Xiao was in the same situation. He didn't have any strength to fight back. How could an immortal realm expert do such a thing? This person's strength is unfathomable. He might be able to exchange blows with young Master Mu. How is that possible? Young Master Mu has an innate divine body and has even condensed more than 20 worldly laws. This person is considered a monster. How can he compete with young Master Mu? Many disciples said in disbelief. After all, young Master Mu was from the Tianlu continent, a fourth-class continent. The Mu family was one of the three great families of the Tianlu continent. Young Master Mu had an innate divine body and was a genius of the Mu family. He had swept through all the newcomers in the Holy Dragon Mystic realm. No one could compete with him. There were even rumors that none of the newcomers in this batch could withstand a single attack from young Master Mu. Brat, let us go. Do you know that we have young Master Mu behind us? Senior brother Xiao was forced to kneel on the ground by the dragon's might. He stared at Chu Fengmian with a gaze that seemed to be on fire. He could not wait to tear Chu Fengmian into pieces. Is that so? So what if he's young Master Mu? Even if he comes today, I will still make him kneel here. Chu Fengmian sat on the throne and spoke casually. His words caused an uproar. Young Master Mu was here. He wanted young Master Mu to kneel here as well. Chu Fengmian's words were no longer arrogant, but courting death. Given young Master Mu's personality, even if they were in the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm and had the rules of the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm, young Master Mu would still kill Chu Fengmian. You don't know what's good for you. Young Master Mu is not someone you can insult. At this moment, a furious roar could be heard as a figure appeared. This figure slowly appeared. Chu Fengmian's eyes revealed a somewhat playful smile. This was indeed a familiar face. This figure was none other than the demon god from the Tiger tribe who had been by young Master Mu's side. It's Jianwang, young Master Mu's trusted aide. Seeing the appearance of the demon god of the Tiger tribe, the faces of many of the surrounding martial artists changed as they retreated. With the appearance of this Jianwang, things would become even more troublesome. When the disciples of the Emperor Mu Association saw Jianwang appear, they were overjoyed and started shouting loudly. Senior brother Hu, quickly save us, a bunch of trash, shut up. Jianwang's eyes revealed some impatience when he heard this. He glanced at them coldly and snorted. A bunch of trash, you can't even do what young Master Mu asked you to do. Yes, it's our fault. Senior brother Xia and the rest did not dare to retort when they heard Jianwang's reprimand. Senior brother Xia was considered someone with some strength in the newcomer's territory. However, Hu Zhuang was young Master Mu's trusted aide and was deeply trusted by young Master Mu. The difference in status between them was like heaven and earth. "Brat, were you the one who spoke nonsense just now?" Hu Zhuang ignored senior brother Xia and the rest. Instead, he glared at Chu Fengmian with murderous intent. "Young Master Mu let you off once in the cave-dwelling hall. I didn't expect you to not cherish it and still dare to speak nonsense. Let me off once? If young Master Mu had dared to attack in the cave-dwelling hall, I would have made him kneel there too." Seeing Hu Zhuang appear, Chu Fengmian did not look nervous at all. Instead, he revealed a playful smile. "Young Master Mu? Mu family? Who do you think you are? If young Master Mu dares to provoke me, I will kill young Master Mu. If Mu family dares to provoke me, I will destroy Mu family." Chu Fengmian sat on the throne and said calmly. Especially when he said that he would kill young Master Mu and destroy Mu family, Chu Fengmian's tone was calm. It was as if he was doing something that was natural. "Lunatic, this brat is definitely a lunatic." When the crowd heard Chu Fengmian's words, their eyes widened. They looked at Chu Fengmian as if they were looking at a lunatic. Kill young Master Mu and destroy Mu family. Even the elders of the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension did not dare to say such words. Especially the Mu family, one of the three great families of the Tianlu continent. It could be said that even the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension had to give some face to the Mu family. No one had ever dared to say such words. "Brat, you're courting death. Based on your words, even if you die 10,000 times, I won't forgive your sins." When Hu Zhuang heard Chu Fengmian's words, his murderous intent exploded. "I'll kill you right now and give your head to young Master Mu." "Take my head? You're not worthy." Disdain flashed across Chu Fengmian's eyes. "Since you're here, you should kneel down too." As he spoke, the battle dragon claw appeared in the air where Chu Fengmian was standing. Facing Hu Zhuang, the battle dragon claw swept up a huge force and came crashing down. "Senior brother Hu, watch out!" Senior brother Xia and the others hurriedly shouted. They knew the power of the battle dragon claw. Dragon clan bloodline? So what? Hu Zhuang sneered. His body suddenly began to change. Strands of hair began to grow on Hu Zhuang's body. His body suddenly became several times bigger. Just the strength of his body was several times stronger than before. The strangest thing was his pair of golden eyes. Golden-eyed tiger eyes? This person is the royal family of the golden-eyed tiger clan. Seeing the golden-eyed tiger eyes, some of the demon gods could not help but exclaim. Chapter 1250. The royal family of the golden-eyed tiger tribe was willing to serve young Master Mu. Many demon gods muttered to themselves in disbelief when they saw Hu Zhuang's golden eyes. On the phone, this was the royal family of countless demon beast tribes, and Hu Zhuang was the royal family of the golden-eyed tiger tribe. But now, he was willing to serve young Master Mu as his master and work for him. But it was obvious that young Master Mu was a peerless genius. Even Hu Zhuang was willing to serve him. That brat is in trouble now. Many people turned to look at Chu Fengmian with worry in their eyes. The golden-eyed tiger tribe had a noble bloodline. Their strength was superior to other demon gods of the same level. Their strongest attribute was their golden eyes. These golden eyes were said to be able to confuse the minds of demon gods. Those who were stared at by these golden eyes would be trapped in an illusion for a short time. In a battle at the quasi-emperor level, being trapped in an illusion for less than a second was enough to be fatal. "Die, brat!" Hu Zhuang shouted coldly. Suddenly, the golden eyes in his eyes became even more demonic. Just looking at the golden eyes from the corner of one's eyes would make one fall into an illusion. Chu Fengmian's eyes couldn't help but look over. Oh no, this brat is not prepared at all. Seeing this, some demon gods couldn't help but shake their heads. The best way to deal with the golden-eyed tiger tribe was to avoid looking at their golden eyes and deliberately avoid them. For demon gods who had reached the quasi-emperor level, they could fight even with their eyes closed. But Chu Fengmian obviously had no experience in dealing with the golden-eyed tiger tribe. Looking at the golden eyes like this was tantamount to suicide. The moment Chu Fengmian looked at the golden eyes, the war dragon claws in the air seemed to have stopped. Seeing this, Hu Zhuang's lips curled into a cruel smile. His figure flashed and rushed in the direction of Chu Fengmian. 2 tiger claws were pointed at Chu Fengmian's chest. This was not only to teach Chu Fengmian a lesson, but also to use this opportunity to kill him. The 2 tiger claws were already close to Chu Fengmian's chest. At this moment, Hu Zhuang's lips were already curled into a smile. At this time, even if Chu Fengmian suddenly woke up, it would be meaningless. What's more, Chu Fengmian didn't look flustered at all. He was still so calm, as if he hadn't noticed at all. And here I was wondering who he was. How dare such a piece of trash make an enemy of young Master Mu? Hu Zhuang's lips curled into a disdainful smile. Just as he opened his mouth, he saw a playful smile appear on Chu Fengmian's face. The moment he saw that smile, Hu Zhuangxin sensed a hint of danger. The power of his 2 tiger claws burst forth in an instant, piercing straight toward Chu Fengmian's chest. Break! Suddenly, just as the 2 tiger claws were about to reach Chu Fengmian's chest, Chu Fengmian suddenly moved. Chu Fengmian raised his hand and slowly pointed a finger at Hu Zhuang. With the point of his finger, the 2 tiger claws started to bend as if they were being subjected to an enormous force. It was merely a finger that appeared to be very simple. Yet, no one was able to comprehend its profoundness. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Hu Zhuang's tiger claws shattered bit by bit. This sudden turn of events was beyond anyone's expectations. Originally, the crowd thought that Chu Fengmian was already doomed. Who would have thought that Chu Fengmian would awaken at this critical moment and shatter both of Hu Zhuang's tiger claws with just the simple point of his finger? This sudden unforeseen event caused many of the surrounding crowd to be unable to react in time. However, a miserable shriek had already sounded in the air. Ah! Hu Zhuang let out a miserable scream. His tiger claws had been shattered by Chu Fengmian, causing his entire body to tremble. For the Tiger clan, this pair of tiger claws was equivalent to a martial artist's spiritual weapon. They were extraordinarily sturdy and comparable to a heavenly spiritual weapon. However, they were directly shattered by Chu Fengmian's finger. How could you not be controlled by King Tong? Hu Zhuang howled as he looked at Chu Fengmian. King Tong was the strongest technique of the golden-eyed tiger clan. However, Chu Fengmian wasn't under its control at all. From the beginning, Chu Fengmian didn't put Hu Zhuang in his eyes. Therefore, he slowly made his move at the last moment. King Tong? You want to shake my Dao heart with some mere illusory techniques? Chu Fengmian couldn't help but laugh when he heard Hu Zhuang's words. The illusory realm condensed by the king of the mental demon was thousands of times stronger than King Tong. Even the king of the mental demon couldn't do anything to Chu Fengmian, let alone King Tong. I won't kill you today. I'll cripple your claws as punishment. You should also kneel and reflect on your actions. Chu Fengmian couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with Hu Zhuang. To Chu Fengmian, Hu Zhuang was an ant-like figure. Normally, he didn't put him in his eyes at all. Chu Fengmian was still a little interested in young Master Mu. As for Hu Zhuang, Chu Fengmian didn't even have the qualifications to talk nonsense with him. Chu Fengmian's mind moved. A terrifying dragon's might also shrouded Hu Zhuang's body under the disbelieving gazes of the crowd. Hu Zhuang also bent his knees and knelt before Chu Fengmian's throne. Even Hu Zhuang isn't a match for this person. Looking at Chu Fengmian, the crowd felt a chill in their hearts. They originally thought that Chu Fengmian was just a guy who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. But now, it seemed that although Chu Fengmian was arrogant, he had the right to be arrogant. Other than young Master Mu, there was probably no one in this batch of newcomers who could compete with Chu Fengmian. Other than young Master Mu, there's also Chu Fengmian. Gradually, Chu Fengmian's reputation began to spread in the sacred dragon mystery domain. Chu Fengmian couldn't be bothered with all this. Chu Fengmian only acted now to warn young Master Mu and the others that Chu Fengmian was not to be trifled with. Before the crowd could recover from their shock, Chu Fengmian's throne had already disappeared. At the same time, Chu Fengmian's figure also disappeared from the crowd's sight. The crowd only dispersed after a long time. However, no one else came to provoke Chu Fengmian in front of his door. Even the people from Emperor Mu's association seemed to have chosen to suffer in silence and didn't come to find trouble with Chu Fengmian. However, one day later, an old man came and took away the few people who were kneeling in front of Chu Fengmian's cave abode. Chu Fengmian had no intention of stopping them. To him, the goal was enough. Chu Fengmian made these people kneel in front of his cave abode as an example to others. Chapter 1251. 3 days passed. Book Network Vatem Chu Fengmian stayed in his cave abode the entire time and never took a step out. Many newcomers who came to the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm were trying to build connections in these 3 days. It was said that the test of the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm was not a one-on-one battle, but could be teamed up. Becoming a member of a force had a much higher chance of passing the test than fighting alone. Because of this, many warriors were willing to join Emperor Mu's association. However, Chu Fengmian did not need to care about this. No matter what he did, he alone was enough. If others came, they would only be a hindrance to Chu Fengmian. During these 3 days, Chu Fengmian stayed in his cave abode in seclusion to study the King of the Inner Demon. The Tao of the Inner Demon was enough to be called the most special martial Tao in all the heavens. Chu Fengmian had an invincible Tao heart and was not afraid of the Tao of the Inner Demon. However, it did not mean that Chu Fengmian understood the Tao of the Inner Demon. On the contrary, the knowledge obtained from the King of the Inner Demon was much more than Chu Fengmian imagined. The Tao of the Inner Demon is indeed mysterious. Chu Fengmian's face was somewhat emotional. He suddenly stood up and waved his hand. A black storm immediately swept over in front of Chu Fengmian. The black storm was instantly filled with ghostly wails and howls as demons danced wildly. If warriors and demon gods with weak Tao hearts were to fall into it, they would probably be scared out of their wits. This move was the inner demon storm that Chu Fengmian had recently comprehended from the King of the Inner Demon. Once touched by this storm, it was enough to trigger the inner demon of a warrior and demon god. Even with Chu Fengmian's firm Tao heart, once touched, he would feel something strange in his body and mind. Not to mention other warriors and even many true emperors would be greatly affected. With this move, even if I don't use my trump cards, it should be enough to fight young Master Mu. Chu Fengmian thought to himself. He had many trump cards that he could not reveal before Chu Fengmian figured out the situation inside the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm. He had only revealed his Battle Dragon bloodline and progenitor Jianwang bloodline. It would be difficult for Chu Fengmian to defeat young Master Mu with just these 2 points. But now, with the addition of the inner demon storm, Chu Fengmian was confident that he could contend with young Master Mu. Dang dang dang. The moment Chu Fengmian slowly got up, the sound of a bell came from outside the cave. Chu Fengmian knew that this was the bell for the newcomers to gather in the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm. Is the day of the assessment finally here? Chu Fengmian slowly rose to his feet, dispelling all of the demonic will around him. At the same time, he allowed the King of the Inner Demons to return to his body. It seemed that Chu Fengmian was still as calm as ever. He moved his body and stepped into the cave residence. Chu Fengmian was not the only one. Many warriors and Yao gods on Heart Scar Peak also heard the bell and woke up from their cave abodes. He flew towards a square on Enlightenment Mountain. Enlightenment Peak was located in the heart of the newcomer's cave abode. At the top of the mountain, there was a huge square. By the time Chu Fengmian arrived, the square was already filled with people. At a glance, there were enough people to fit 10,000 people. There are actually so many geniuses here. Chu Fengmian swept a glance, and there was some surprise in his eyes. One must know that in the ancient monster continent, if Chu Fengmian was not here, only Luya was qualified to come to the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm to take the assessment. However, there were more than 10,000 newcomers in front of him. Almost every one of them was far stronger than Yi Jianxiu and the others. They were all first-class geniuses. It was no wonder that the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm had so many masters. With so many geniuses, as long as there were enough resources to nurture them, they could become countless masters. At the very least, almost 90% of the countless warriors and Yao gods in front of him had the chance to step into the Emperor realm. Of course, the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm did not need to focus on nurturing geniuses who could step into the Emperor realm. Those who could catch the eye of the elders of the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm were at least geniuses who had the chance to step into the level of Emperor Gu. Emperor Masters were nothing in the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm. Look, Chu Fengmian is here. As soon as Chu Fengmian appeared, some of the warriors and Yao gods in the crowd recognized him. Chu Fengmian had defeated Hu Zhuang, senior brother Xia, and the others. It could be said that he had become famous in one battle. Defeating senior brother Xia might not be a big deal, but defeating Hu Zhuang was a little surprising. Among this batch of newcomers, even if Hu Zhuang was not in the top 10, he was at least in the top 20. But now, he was mercilessly defeated by Chu Fengmian. It was even rumored that Chu Fengmian defeated Hu Zhuang with ease. Many warriors and Yao gods snorted at this point, thinking that it was impossible. After all, Hu Zhuang was a member of the royal family of the Golden-Eyed Tiger clan. How could he be defeated so easily? But no matter what, Chu Fengmian was able to defeat Hu Zhuang, which proved his strength. It seems that there is nothing special about him. He is not even a quasi-emperor. He is only in the immortal realm. Was he the one who defeated Hu Zhuang? A warrior looked at Chu Fengmian with a trace of disappointment in his eyes. Chu Fengmian's appearance was somewhat ordinary. Apart from a faint dragon's might that could be felt from Chu Fengmian's body, it was enough to prove that Chu Fengmian had the bloodline of the Dragon Clan. Nothing else could be detected from Chu Fengmian's body. Maybe he was lucky. Hu Zhuang saw that he was only in the immortal realm and underestimated him. Another warrior said in a low voice. Hu Zhuang was defeated by such a little guy. On a high platform in the square, there were about 7 or 8 warriors and Yao gods. The aura of these 7 or 8 warriors and Yao gods was obviously a level higher than the people around them. As a result, no martialists or demon immortals dared to stand around them, giving them a wide berth. That trash is a disgrace to our tiger clan. I can tear such a little guy apart with one claw. A 3-meter-tall brawny man looked at Chu Fengmian and said disdainfully. Hu Gui, you are still the same as before. Brainless. As soon as the brawny man said that, a thin and weak man beside him sneered. If this kid was so weak, would he still be standing here today? Sick ghost, you don't have to make sarcastic remarks here. This kid is standing here today because young Master Mu is merciful and did not kill him. Otherwise, with young Master Mu's status, even the elders of the Sacred Dragon's secret territory would not dare to interfere if he wanted to kill this kid. After Hu Gui finished speaking, he looked at a young man sitting on the throne beside him. Chapter 1252. Among the crowd, the most eye-catching thing was a throne that stood high up. Everyone, please search for the most complete information. The throne was high up and looked down on the crowd. However, none of the cultivators and Yao gods present dared to raise their heads and look at the man on the throne. Everyone's eyes were filled with reverence. That was because the person on the throne was young Master Mu, the absolute king of this batch of newcomers. Although he had yet to join the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm, even the elders of the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm had to be polite to him. That little guy was able to defeat Hu Zhuang. He should be quite capable. Young Master Mu, who was sitting on the throne, spoke slowly after hearing Tiger Ghost's words. However, that person is too arrogant. I can't use him. Arrogant? He's just a brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Young Master Mu, with your noble status, you're not willing to take such a brat seriously. Tiger Ghost laughed loudly at the side. The way I see it, what arrogance. In a while, I'll go over and teach him a lesson. That brat will naturally submit to young Master Mu obediently. In this Holy Dragon secret realm, with young Master Mu's status, who could possibly compete with young Master Mu? There's no need to teach him a lesson now. After all, he's just a reckless brat. Just kill him. Young Master Mu suddenly looked at Chu Fengmian. The moment his eyes swept over Chu Fengmian, it was as if there was a rainbow-colored light shining on him. It was as if his eyes could see through all concealment. Divine Sunglow eyes. As expected of young Master Mu's divine Sunglow body. A single ray of light is enough to see through all things. The moment they saw the rainbow-colored light, many people's faces were filled with envy. The rainbow-colored light could see all things. That was the special ability of the divine Sunglow body. All concealment could not be hidden from the divine Sunglow eyes. Even the cultivator's fortuitous encounters, cultivation methods, spirit weapons, and encounters could not be hidden from the divine Sunglow eyes. When facing an enemy, it could even see through the flaws of every move with a single glance. Nothing in the world could escape the divine Sunglow eyes. That was the innate divine body, the divine Sunglow body. Young Master Mu, how is it? A few warriors standing beside young Master Mu asked curiously. They also wanted to know Chu Fengmian's background. He just has some innate god-beast blood in him, probably the blood of the dragon progenitor, Jianwang. Other than that, he's not worth mentioning. Young Master Mu casually said as he swept his gaze over them. This bloodline is still somewhat useful to me. When the time comes, I'll capture this brat and find an elder of the clan to take his bloodline for my own use. Innate divine beast bloodline. Many martial artists and Yao gods gasped in surprise when they heard this. This could be considered one of the most heaven-defying opportunities. A demon celestial with an innate divine beast bloodline was almost on par with a martialist with an innate divine body. However, when they heard young Master Mu's next sentence, they all burst into laughter. Congratulations in advance, young Master Mu. When they looked at Chu Fengmian, it was as if they were looking at a dead person. So what if he had an innate divine beast bloodline? Only death awaited Chu Fengmian after provoking young Master Mu. Their gazes fell upon Chu Fengmian. He also noticed young Master Mu's presence. Especially after being swept by the seven-colored light, Chu Fengmian couldn't see it clearly. With a single thought, he concealed most of his secrets. Chu Fengmian purposely revealed Tianlong's bloodline. Otherwise, even young Master Mu with his Sunglow divine physique wouldn't be able to see through Chu Fengmian. The Sunglow divine physique was an innate divine body, but Chu Fengmian also had the ice-fire divine physique. In terms of constitution, Chu Fengmian's was even stronger than young Master Mu's. Only a true emperor with the Sunglow divine physique could see through Chu Fengmian's trump card. Young Master Mu was far from enough. This pair of Sunglow divine eyes is good stuff. They'll be very useful when comprehending laws, able to point to the origin. Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Once Chu Fengmian obtained the divine eyes of multicolored light, it would be of great benefit to him. He had already begun to formulate a plan to kill young Master Mu. Rumble. At this moment, the sky was suddenly torn apart. A huge bronze door suddenly opened in the sky above the square. The bronze gate was so ancient that it had probably existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Countless experts' blood had been burned on it, causing the bronze gate to transform. Like the ancestral dragon supreme sword, it was transforming from a heavenly grade spiritual weapon to an extreme grade immortal weapon. What a treasure! If this bronze door is refined for hundreds of thousands of years, it might really become an apex immortal weapon. With just a glance, Chu Fengmian could tell that the copper gate had the potential to become an extreme grade immortal weapon. Similar to Chu Fengmian's ancestral dragon supreme sword and titanic crescent godly sword, it had surpassed the heaven grade. However, it was only a possibility. Whether it could succeed or not depended on fate. An old man appeared along with the bronze door. The old man hovered there in midair. Many people were so attracted by the copper door that they didn't even notice how the old man had appeared. He looked like an ordinary old man, but Chu Fengmian felt immense pressure in his heart. The strength of this old man was very strong. Although he was not as strong as the Wind Empress Ancient Emperor, he was likely strong enough to fight against her. I am Cui Tian, the examiner of the newcomer's assessment. The old man slowly opened his mouth and said in the sky. Chu Fengmian didn't react much when he heard the name, but the faces of many people around him changed abruptly. Cui Tian Emperor Gu. It's him. It's said that Cui Tian Emperor Gu was a supreme elder of the sacred dragon secret realm. To think that an ancient emperor would be the examiner for this test. Many people were stunned when they heard the name Cui Tian Emperor Gu. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. This was an ancient emperor. He would be a big shot in countless continents. They didn't expect that Emperor Gu would be the examiner. Even Chu Fengmian didn't expect the sacred dragon secret realm to be so generous. It was just a newcomer's assessment, but Emperor Gu was the examiner. Greetings, Cui Tian Emperor Gu. The people present hurriedly bowed after being surprised. Chapter 1253. The place you will be going to in this test is called the Nether Ghost Domain. Countless demonic creatures live there. Emerald Sky Emperor Gu swept his gaze over the crowd. It was almost impossible to discern his emotions from his voice. Nether Ghost Domain? Hearing this name, most of the cultivators did not react. However, the expressions of some of the geniuses from the higher continents changed. Could it be the Nether Ghost Domain, one of the 6 ferocious forbidden grounds? A young man standing beside young Master Mu exclaimed in shock. When the Nether Ghost Domain was mentioned, not many people reacted. However, when the 6 ferocious forbidden grounds was mentioned, everyone's expression changed greatly. It was said that there were a total of 6 ferocious continents in the extraterritorial starry sky called the 6 ferocious forbidden grounds. The Nether Ghost Domain was one of them. The 6 ferocious forbidden grounds were said to be the place where Emperor Gu had fallen. Even many Emperor Gu could die on the spot if they entered. That's right, it is the Nether Ghost Domain. However, you will only be going to the edge of the Nether Ghost Domain. Emerald Sky Emperor Gu slowly said. Whoever wants to withdraw can do so now. Our Holy Dragon Secret Domain will not force you. However, once you withdraw today, you will no longer have the chance to enter the Holy Dragon Secret Domain in the future. Hearing Emerald Sky Emperor Gu's words, the cultivators who had been a little hesitant did not choose to leave. The opportunity to enter the Holy Dragon Secret Domain was extremely rare. Furthermore, the cultivators and Yao gods present were all geniuses from various continents. Each of them was proud of themselves. It was impossible for them to withdraw without a fight. Very good, there are no cowards. The ancient Emperor of Emerald Heavens nodded in satisfaction and continued. Your goal is to kill demonic creatures and extract their demonic bones. The more demonic creatures you kill, the higher your evaluation will be. Only the top 2,000 are qualified to enter the Holy Dragon Secret Domain. Top 2,000? The moment these words were spoken, many of the martial artists and Yao gods present looked at each other. Usually, such a test would eliminate at most half of the people. However, only 2,000 people could enter the Holy Dragon Secret Domain this time. There were more than 10,000 cultivators and Yao gods present. In this way, 4/5 of the cultivators and Yao gods would be eliminated. The requirements for this sacred dragon mystery ground are actually so strict. Some of the cultivators who had some understanding of the Holy Dragon Secret Realm exclaimed in shock. The rules of the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground had not changed for thousands of years. Yet, there was a sudden change this time. No one knew what it was hinting at. The geniuses who passed the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimensions examination this time will all receive a Jade Dragon Saint Elixir. Emerald Sky Emperor Gu suddenly spoke. Jade Dragon Saint Dan? The Holy Dragon Mystery Realm is actually so generous? The expressions of many warriors changed involuntarily. Even young Master Mu looked surprised. Jade Dragon Saint Dan? What kind of spirit medicine is it? Some martial artists looked confused. This is the unique elixir of the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground. It is said that Emperor Gu refined this elixir with his supreme technique in sacred medicine. Each Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir contains 10 pieces of the law of heaven and earth. Once refined, it is equivalent to condensing 10 pieces of the law of heaven and earth. A genius who came from a high-ranked continent explained. He was also more knowledgeable. Even if the disciples of the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground want to exchange for this kind of Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir, they will need a large number of contribution points to do so. Most ordinary disciples can't even afford it. But this time, everyone who passed the examination can get one. 10 pieces of the law of heaven and earth. Hearing this, many of the cultivators and monster gods present revealed a fanatical look. Most of the cultivators and monster gods present had not condensed 10 pieces of the law of heaven and earth. If they could obtain this Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir, once they refined and devoured it, it would almost mean that their strength would increase more than twofold. Moreover, the more heaven and earth principles one could condense before reaching the Emperor Realm, the more benefits one would get when they reached the Emperor Realm in the future. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A pill that contains the law of heaven and earth. Chu Fengmian's heart moved. Although he had 300 pieces of the law of heaven and earth in his body, no one would complain about having too many. It was not a Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir, but a pill. The law of heaven and earth in his body did not belong to others. If Chu Fengmian devoured it, even if it could not increase the number of the law of heaven and earth, it would be enough to strengthen the 300 pieces of law of heaven and earth. Moreover, this was the first time Chu Fengmian had heard of such a method of refining the law of heaven and earth into pills. The methods of the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground were much more mysterious than Chu Fengmian had imagined. Chu Fengmian himself was an alchemy grandmaster. If Chu Fengmian obtained a Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir, he might be able to obtain the refining method of the Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir. A Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir was extremely expensive in the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground. If Chu Fengmian could refine a large number of Jade Dragon Sacred Elixirs, it would definitely be a huge fortune. Originally, when they heard that only 2,000 people could pass the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground's examination this time, many cultivators and monster gods had wanted to withdraw. But when they heard about the Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir, the cultivators and monster gods' faces became heated. This was a Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir. Once they obtained it, it would definitely not be inferior to ordinary encounters. If they could obtain it by passing the examination, it would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. No one is withdrawing, right? Emerald Sky Emperor Gu swept his gaze across the crowd. None of the cultivators and monster gods present chose to withdraw. Emerald Sky Emperor Gu slowly raised his hand and injected a surge of spiritual energy into the bronze door. Ancient runes appeared on the bronze door, and waves of ancient power surged out. The bronze door opened with a loud bang. Behind the bronze door was a bottomless darkness. Billowing demonic intent surged out from the bronze door. Behind the bronze door is the Nether Ghost region. The duration of the examination is 7 days. Each of you will carry a jade talisman when you enter. Crush the jade talisman and you will be able to leave. If you encounter danger, crush the jade talisman. After 7 days, everyone will be recalled. Your ranking will be determined according to the number of demonic bones you obtain. The higher your ranking, the more important your haul will be. You may even be noticed by the 4 sections. Perform well. After Emerald Sky Emperor Gu finished speaking, the bronze door opened completely. It was unknown how many demons were hidden behind the billowing demonic intent. It was a chilling sight. But the demonic intent did not frighten the crowd. Soon, several cultivators and monster gods stepped into the door. Then, more and more people poured into the door. Chu Fengmian also followed the crowd and stepped through the bronze door. Beside him, young Master Mu also took a step forward. Young Master Mu looked at Chu Fengmian with eyes full of killing intent. When you reach the Nether Ghost region, it will be your death. Then I'll wait. Chapter 1254. The Nether Ghost Realm was one of the 6 ferocious lands of extremities. It was said that the Nether Ghost Realm was the most ancient demon realm in the extraterritorial starry sky. Countless demons were born there. Demon kings and demon emperors were innumerable. This time, the Copper Gate only teleported him to the edge of the Nether Ghost Realm. But once he stepped in, Chu Fengmian could feel the billowing demonic intent. In such a demon will land, it was likely enough to give birth to a demon emperor at the emperor realm. Demonic will was equivalent to spirit chi to demonic creatures. The denser the spirit chi, the stronger the demonic god warriors there. The nether ghost realm was the same. With such a rich demonic intent, it was a paradise for demons. Compared to the nether ghost realm, the so-called demon realms of the 9 domains are not worth mentioning. Chu Fengmian looked around and said with a smile. In the 9 domains, there were a few places called demon realms, but compared to the nether ghost realm, they were not even worthy of carrying shoes. This was only the edge of the nether ghost realm. It was said that the nether ghost realm was as big as 100 continents. It was almost impossible to see the edge. There were even demon emperors at the level of the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu and ancient demon gods that had surpassed the level of the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu when stepped into the celestial realm. As soon as Chu Fengmian stepped into the nether ghost realm, his aura fluttered with the wind. For demons, the blood essence of demon gods was their food. It could increase their strength and had a fatal attraction. A gust of chilly wind swept over. In this gust of chilly wind, a huge ape suddenly appeared. This giant ape held a big club and smashed it directly at Chu Fengmian. This was a giant ghost ape, a terrifying quasi-emperor level demon. In the nether ghost realm, he could blend into the chilly wind. Even many quasi-emperors could not detect his presence. Once attacked, many quasi-emperors would not be in danger. Human, it's been a long time since a human came. Your flesh and blood is mine. The moment the big club smashed at Chu Fengmian, the giant ghost ape revealed a somewhat ferocious expression and laughed loudly. The quasi-emperor level demonic creature already possessed spiritual intelligence. It was no different from a martial artist or a demon god. It looked at Chu Fengmian as if he was its prey. Its eyes were full of greed and it was already imagining the scene of devouring Chu Fengmian's blood essence. However, the moment the club was less than 3 feet away from Chu Fengmian's body, it was suddenly grasped by a tremendous force. The claw of a battle dragon appeared above Chu Fengmian and grabbed the stick firmly. Then, he exerted strength and directly crushed the big stick. What? The giant ghoul ape didn't expect Chu Fengmian's strength to have reached such a level. His figure flickered and began to disappear. He intended to disappear into the land of Yin and leave. However, the battle dragon's claw had already locked onto the giant ghoul ape. Before the giant ghoul ape's body could completely disappear, it was grabbed by the battle dragon's claw. Then, the giant ghoul ape was crushed in Chu Fengmian's palm. Then, Chu Fengmian moved his right hand and pulled out a rib bone from the giant ghoul ape. This rib bone seemed to be the condensation of the giant ghoul ape's demonic intent. It was its origin demon bone. The source of a martial artist's strength came from the spiritual vein. A demon god's strength came from the beast core. As for the demon race, it came from the demon bone. Chu Fengmian pulled out the demon bone. In an instant, the demon bone in Chu Fengmian's palm exploded with spiritual energy, trying to escape. However, Chu Fengmian moved his hand and a seal was cast, firmly suppressing the power of the demon bone. The quasi-emperor level giant ghoul ape was directly suppressed by Chu Fengmian. Its demon bone also fell into Chu Fengmian's palm. Chu Fengmian carefully observed the demon bone. The demon bone contained extremely complex demonic runes. These demonic runes belonged to the demon race. Human martial artists could not understand them at all. They could only feel the terrifying demonic intent contained in the demon bone. Such a demon bone of a quasi-emperor demon could be refined into a heavenly spirit weapon at the very least if it was slightly refined. Of course, it would be an ordinary heaven-grade spiritual artifact. It could not be compared to the ancestral dragon supreme sword. Moreover, not only could it be used to refine weapons, but some alchemy masters could also convert the demonic intent in the demon bone into pure spiritual energy. It was enough for martial artists and demon gods to devour. Such a demon bone was equivalent to a saint pill. However, no matter what kind of demon bone it was not very useful to Chu Fengmian. His goal was to accumulate a large number of demon bones, pass the test, and even become the champion. In order to join the Holy Dragon sect, Chu Fengmian had to become the champion this time. He also needed to hunt a large number of demonic creatures. Let's go! Chu Fengmian's figure moved and disappeared again. He continued to hunt demonic creatures in the realm of nether ghosts. However, Chu Fengmian's eyes could not help but frown. He felt that there seemed to be a gaze watching him in the sky of the realm of nether ghosts. It should be said that it was not only watching Chu Fengmian, but also watching everyone in the realm of nether ghosts. Emerald Sky Emperor Gu. Chu Fengmian recognized the owner of this gaze. Emerald Sky Emperor Gu had also come to the realm of nether ghosts. He seemed to be observing every movement of every martial artist and demon god. Once Chu Fengmian used his full strength, he would also be noticed by Emerald Sky Emperor Gu. How troublesome! Chu Fengmian cursed inwardly. In the realm of nether ghosts, Chu Fengmian could not display his full strength. Otherwise, with Chu Fengmian's current strength, he was almost invincible in the border of the realm of nether ghosts. However, now he could only slowly hunt demonic creatures. Fortunately, the strength that Chu Fengmian displayed was already at the peak of this year's newcomers. His hunting speed was definitely the fastest. Except for young Master Mu, no one else could compete with Chu Fengmian for the top spot. Half a day later. Under Chu Fengmian's hands, he had already killed more than 30 quasi-emperor demonic creatures. Quasi-emperor demonic creatures were rarely seen in the 9 domains of the ancient monster continent, but they were everywhere in the realm of nether ghosts. It was not difficult to search for them. Boom! In a mountain range in the realm of nether ghosts, the battle dragon's claw mercilessly fell and directly crushed a mountain peak. At the same time, along with the mountain peak, a roaring demonic creature was directly killed by Chu Fengmian's battle dragon's claw. This was a one tribulation true Emperor Devil King, but it was also mercilessly killed by the battle dragon's claw. Chapter 1255. This surge of spiritual energy startled many of the demonic creatures in the surroundings, causing them to fly into the sky one after another. However, a beam of light descended from the sky in an instant and killed all the demonic creatures. Even a few Emperor Realm Demon Kings were mercilessly killed without the slightest ability to resist. Another Emperor Gu? Chu Fengmian raised his head and sensed that the owner of this beam of light was probably not inferior to Green Heaven's Emperor Gu. Another Emperor Gu had appeared. After this beam of light, a space tunnel suddenly condensed. Countless cultivators and monster gods poured out of this space tunnel. At a glance, there were at least tens of thousands of them. Most of these cultivators and monster gods were at the Boundary Emperor realm, which was very similar to the newcomers of the Holy Dragon secret domain. Chu Fengmian even noticed a few geniuses who were not inferior to young Master Mu. Are these the geniuses of another force? Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. He noticed that each of these geniuses had a jade talisman hanging on their chests. On this jade talisman, there was a dazzling Qi character. Qi, could they be disciples of Qilin Mountain? Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. This Qi character was the unique symbol of Qilin Mountain. Qilin Mountain was also a famous force in the extraterritorial starry sky. It was not inferior to the Holy Dragon secret domain. Chu Fengmian was no longer the little guy who knew nothing about the extraterritorial starry sky. From Hua and the others, Chu Fengmian had a rough understanding of many forces in the extraterritorial starry sky. Qilin Mountain was one of them. It was located in a third-grade continent, the Qilin continent. It was the overlord of the Qilin continent. He did not expect that this time, people from Qilin Mountain had also come to the Nether Ghost realm. It seems that not only the Holy Dragon secret domain, Qilin Mountain also intends to come to the Nether Ghost realm to train. Chu Fengmian muttered to himself. This was the edge of the Nether Ghost realm. There were countless ghosts here, but there were very few truly powerful Ghost Kings. Even Emperor Ghost Kings were low-level Ghost Kings below the 3 Tribulation Emperor realm. For the disciples of the Holy Dragon's secret domain, even if they were no match, they could escape if they used all their skills. Therefore, the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground had chosen the Nether Ghost domain as the place to test the disciples. From the looks of it, it was not only the people from the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm. Even the people from the Qilin Mountain had come. Disciples of Qilin Mountain, listen up. Whoever kills the most demonic creatures will be qualified to be promoted to an official disciple. The voice of Emperor Gu of the Qilin Mountain came from the sky. Yes. Countless Qilin Mountain disciples replied in unison, their auras soaring. Like an army, they began slaughtering the demonic creatures in the realm of nether ghosts. For a time, battles broke out everywhere. I have to speed up too. Seeing this, Chu Fengmian's figure flickered and flew directly into the depths of the nether ghost realm. Currently, the demonic creatures at the edge of the realm of nether ghosts were competing and accumulating. The realm of nether ghosts was boundless, and the deeper one went, the more demonic creatures there would be. Of course, the closer one was to the depths of the nether ghost realm, the stronger the monsters were. Chu Fengmian flew all the way for 1,000 miles. Currently, most of the demonic creatures he had encountered were at the boundary Emperor realm. He had even encountered quite a few demon kings in the Emperor realm. As he went deeper into the realm of nether ghosts, the number of martial artists and demon gods he encountered became fewer and fewer. However, during this period of time, the situation became a lot more chaotic. Not only Qilin Mountain, but the disciples of the Avalon of Five Elements and Vast Ocean Capital also came to the realm of nether ghosts. These two forces were not inferior to Qilin Mountain and the Sacred Dragon's secret domain. They were both overlords of third-grade continents. A total of 40 to 50,000 martial artists and demon gods poured into the realm of nether ghosts and set off waves of slaughter. A large number of demonic creatures were besieged and killed. On the other side, several thousand martial artists and demon gods were killed in one day. 105. Chu Fengmian flew in the sky and suddenly slammed down with his claw. A demon king of the first tribulation true emperor level was directly killed by Chu Fengmian. After shattering the demon king in the sky, Chu Fengmian's claw directly collected the demon king's bones and stored them in his empty ring. In one day, Chu Fengmian had killed a total of 105 demonic creatures. Without exception, their bones were all stored in his empty ring. At this moment, Chu Fengmian looked around and saw that there were no longer any demonic creatures around. The majority of the demonic creatures had been killed by Chu Fengmian. As for the lucky ones, they had already run far away. The demonic creatures were not without intelligence. When they saw Chu Fengmian's wanton slaughter, many of them fled. Looks like I'll have to change locations. Chu Fengmian glanced around and suddenly moved, turning into a ray of light and was about to leave. Suddenly, not far away, a ball of white flames suddenly turned into a sea of fire. The target of this sea of fire was Chu Fengmian. In the heart of the sea of fire, Chu Fengmian could still see a tall figure that was more than 10 meters tall. It was holding a bone sword and continuously swinging it. This figure had two sharp horns on its head and was very similar to the Azura that Chu Fengmian had seen before. Azura? It's actually a pure-blooded Azura? A hint of surprise flashed in Chu Fengmian's eyes. Azuras were different from the demonic creatures that Chu Fengmian had killed before. Most of those demonic creatures were born from the demon domain. Although they had stepped into the quasi-emperor realm, they were equivalent to ordinary quasi-emperor realm martial artists. Azuras, on the other hand, were the elites of the devil race. It was said that in the ancient era, the Azura legion of the devil race had destroyed one continent after another. Even a 9 tribulation true emperor couldn't stop the Azura legion. Each Azura was equivalent to a genius in the Holy Dragon's secret realm. Although this Azura was only a quasi-emperor, its true strength wasn't inferior to a 2 tribulation true emperor. A pure-blooded Azura. According to the rules of the Holy Dragon's secret realm, the higher the bloodline of the demonic creature killed, the higher the points. I was just thinking of hunting some demonic creatures with noble bloodlines. Looks like they've delivered themselves to my doorstep. Chu Fengmian's mind moved. He wasn't afraid in the face of this sea of fire. His body moved and turned into a ray of light that directly rushed over. The claw of the battle dragon descended from the sky and split the sea of flames into two, opening a path for Qin Nan. "Brat, are you the one who wantonly slaughtered my devil race?" The Azura looked at Chu Fengmian and savagely asked. "I can feel the bloodline of the dragon race in your body." "That's right, I haven't drunk dragon blood for a long time. Today, I'll use you to quench my thirst." Chapter 1256. Azura's bone sword was the most precious treasure of their clan. It was said that some Azura emperors' bone swords were even more powerful than heaven-grade spiritual weapons. As soon as the Azura attacked, a sea of fire immediately swept toward Chu Fengmian. The flames were not ordinary flames, but demonic flames. Only the elites of the demon race could use such flames. Once touched by the demonic flames would continue to spread and devour all life. It was the most domineering flame in the world. Even heaven-grade spiritual weapons could not resist it. However, Chu Fengmian did not care. He formed the battle dragon claw and slashed it down. The demonic flames burned the war dragon claw, but they were unable to harm it in the slightest. Chu Fengmian had the divine body of ice and fire. The battle dragon claw had been refined by the pure yang heavenly fire. The demonic flames were far inferior to the pure yang heavenly fire. "You're not afraid of the demonic flames?" Azura's expression changed when he saw that the battle dragon claw was unscathed despite being burned by his demonic flames. After all, Azura was a combat elite of the demon race. Seeing that the demon flame had failed, he immediately pulled out his bone sword and slashed at Chu Fengmian. The sword contained the power of heaven and earth. Chu Fengmian could feel that Azura had activated the power of 20 laws of heaven and earth to attack Chu Fengmian. Sky-ripping claw. Chu Fengmian's expression did not change when he saw Azura slashing at him. He focused his gaze and the power of primogenitor Tianlong's bloodline boiled in his body. The battle dragon claw above Chu Fengmian's head was formed by countless arrays. In an instant, it turned into a sky-ripping claw and slashed at Azura. Boom! A loud sound was heard. The domineering and invincible power burst out. The sky was about to be torn apart by the claw. The Azura's chest was instantly torn apart by the sky-ripping claw. A massive force bombarded his body like a torrential storm. Even an elite of the demon race like Azura could not withstand such a terrifying attack. His body began to shatter layer by layer. Finally, it shattered into pieces. Retrieve. With a tap of his finger, Chu Fengmian extracted the Azura's devil bone and held it in his hand. Although this Azura was only at the quasi-emperor realm, the power contained in this demon bone was much stronger than many of the demon kings that Chu Fengmian had killed. This was the advantage of bloodline. The Azura bloodline was considered the elite of the demon race, but it was still not considered a royal bloodline. It was even rumored that the royal bloodline of the demon race was no less powerful than the bloodline of the innate godly bodies and innate divine beasts. Of course, such geniuses of the demon race all existed in the holy land of the demon race. They were far beyond Chu Fengmian's reach. This bone sword can be sold for a good price. When Chu Fengmian saw the bone sword, he waved his hand and put it away. The bone sword of the Azura clan was something that many sword cultivators yearned for even in their dreams. However, after killing this Azura, Chu Fengmian felt a little strange. This place was still at the edge of the realm of Nether Ghost. It could even be said to be the most remote and desolate place in the realm of Nether Ghost. How could there be a pure-blooded Azura in such a place? According to Chu Fengmian's understanding, apart from the most famous Azura army, many of the Azura clan's members served as guards. For an Azura to appear out of thin air was definitely unusual. Are the martial artists up ahead fighting with the demons? While Chu Fengmian was thinking, waves of spiritual energy erupted not far ahead. Spiritual energy and demonic will were constantly colliding. Even from 1,000 miles away, one could clearly feel the collision of power. This was definitely not a battle between ordinary demons and martial artists. Let's go and see what's going on. Chu Fengmian's figure flashed and turned into a streak of light, flying directly over. For Chu Fengmian, 1,000 miles was nothing more than a snap of his fingers. Chu Fengmian's figure flashed repeatedly and arrived near the collision of power. When he saw everything clearly, Chu Fengmian's expression suddenly changed. So many martial artists and demon immortals. At a glance, Chu Fengmian saw hundreds of martial artists and demon immortals. These martial artists and demon immortals seemed to be from different forces, but now, they had formed a team and were constantly hunting down the demon race. Countless demons were constantly being killed by the joint forces of these martial artists and demon immortals. Someone actually managed to unite so many geniuses? A trace of surprise flashed across Chu Fengmian's eyes. Regardless of whether it was the sacred dragon mystery dimension or Qi Linshan, the disciples of the Avalon of 5 elements were all famous geniuses from various continents. Almost all of them were proud and arrogant people. Only people like young Master Mu, who had a powerful background, could command the loyalty of other geniuses. However, this was still only a small part of them. These martial artists and demon immortals belonged to different forces, but now they were united. How could Chu Fengmian not be surprised? However, after taking a closer look, Chu Fengmian's expression changed involuntarily. This was because he suddenly saw that the faces of these martial artists and demon immortals were engraved with ancient veins. These ancient veins were none other than a restriction that could control life and death. In other words, these martial artists and demon immortals had all been forcibly enslaved by someone. What a ruthless method! A trace of ferocity flashed across Chu Fengmian's eyes. Chu Fengmian also had the heavenly death seal. However, Chu Fengmian rarely used such a method to deal with other martial artists and demon immortals. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Chu Fengmian was unwilling to use it. After all, such a method was too ruthless. Forcibly enslaving a restriction was much more painful than killing the martial artist. Chu Fengmian also knew that in the Nether Ghost Domain's assessment, there would be competition between the disciples of various forces. However, using such a method to directly subdue martial artists and demon immortals as slaves was more ruthless than Chu Fengmian had imagined. Chu Fengmian saw that this group of martial artists and demon immortals were not only hunting demons. When they encountered martial artists and demon immortals, they directly chased after them, as if they wanted to take away and enslave all the martial artists and demon immortals. They were simply a group of heartless people. Crystal heaven and earth. All of a sudden, a gigantic crystal giant appeared not too far away. On the head of this crystal giant stood a woman. When this crystal giant appeared, it immediately sent a palm strike at the group of martial artists and demon immortals that were chasing after them, saving several martial artists who were being chased. Chapter 1257. It's her. Chu Fengmian's gaze swept over. When he saw the woman who had attacked, he was somewhat surprised. This woman was none other than Luya, who had come to the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain with Chu Fengmian. Previously, when she had been taken away by Emperor Gu, Chu Fengmian had thought that Luya had already entered the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain. After all, with Emperor Gu's identity, he would have been able to bring her to the Four Sects. Unexpectedly, she had also come to the Nether Ghost Domain. Young Master Shui. No matter who you are, you cannot pursue the disciples of the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain. Luya snorted coldly and did not retreat. The crystal giant gathered a terrifying spiritual energy and attacked. Luya's strength was much stronger than the last time he saw her. She possessed a total of 20 laws of the heavens and earth. It seemed that she had obtained great benefits after entering the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain. It's just killing a few newcomers. What's the big deal? These newcomers cannot be considered disciples of the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain. Furthermore, with young Master Shui's identity, he can kill them. Who are you to tell him what to do? An eagle-faced man said with a cold sneer behind the hundreds of beast gods. He was the commander of these Yao gods. His eyes flickered as he sized up Luya. A trace of lust flashed in his eyes. Not bad. I did not expect that there would be a beauty like you among the newcomers of the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain. A total of 20 worldly laws is enough to be called a genius. You are qualified to be young Master Shue's concubine. Since you've delivered yourself to my doorstep. I won't be polite then. Go, capture this woman. The eagle-faced man ordered. The hundreds of martial artists and Yao gods all attacked at the same time. Every quasi-emperor Yao god present was a genius of a continent. When several hundred people attacked together, the power they unleashed was enough to change the color of the sky. With Luya's current strength, ordinary quasi-emperor Yao gods were nothing in her eyes. However, now that hundreds of martial artists and Fey immortals were attacking together, even she revealed a somewhat fearful expression. With a thought, the crystals in the sky turned into crystal spears that pierced toward the eagle-nosed man. However, before the crystal spears could reach the eagle-nosed man, the several hundred quasi-emperor Yao gods attacked together. A vast amount of spiritual energy burst out and shattered those crystal spears. This Luya is still too reckless. Seeing this, Chu Fengmian shook his head. However, he and Luya were, after all, acquaintances. He would not allow Luya to be captured by young noble Xue. Furthermore, young Master Xue's way of doing things had crossed Chu Fengmian's bottom line. When Chu Fengmian killed someone, he would never kill someone he had no enmity with. However, young noble Xue was completely different. He directly captured other Fey immortals and enslaved them to serve him. Ha ha, little beauty, there's no need for you to struggle. Follow young noble Xue and be his concubine. That's a blessing that you've accumulated over thousands of years. It's something that many people dream of. If you follow young noble Xue, it'll be much better for you to be a little disciple in the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain. The eagle-faced man laughed loudly when he saw that Luya was at a disadvantage. Xue Gongzi will definitely rule the world in the future. Holy Dragon's secret realm, Qilin Mountain, they will all be trampled under his feet. Really? What a boastful tone. The moment the hundreds of Fey immortals forced Luya into a desperate situation, an escape light flew over in an instant. At the same time, an enormous claw of a war dragon appeared in the sky and violently attacked the hundreds of Fey immortals. Quite a number of people were forced to retreat. Who dares to interfere with our young noble Xue's matter? The eagle-faced man swept his gaze over and stared at Chu Fengmian sinisterly as he spoke coldly. This person has already become young noble Xue's concubine. I advise you not to interfere. Otherwise, if you provoke young noble Xue for a woman, you'll be courting disaster. The eagle-faced man looked at Chu Fengmian with some fear. This war dragon claw was enough to force back the hundreds of Fey immortals. Although these Fey immortals were controlled by young noble Xue's unique restriction and their cooperation was far from a normal banquet, their combined strength was enough to force even a three-tribulation true emperor to retreat. However, Chu Fengmian had withstood it. This made the eagle-faced man somewhat fearful. Is that so? What young noble Xue? I've never heard of him. I want this woman. Chu Fengmian casually smiled and spoke in a nonchalant manner. Now, release everyone's restrictions and kill yourself. Then, I can leave you with an intact corpse. Humph. A mere never-wither realm brat dares to be so arrogant in front of me? It seems that our Avalon of 5 elements hasn't appeared in a long time. Even a little cat or dog dares to provoke us. The eagle-faced man laughed coldly. His laughter concealed a strong murderous intent. Don't think that you're invincible just because you have some strength. Your strength is nothing in front of our Avalon of 5 elements. Blood sacrifice to heaven and earth, great immortal art of physical transformation. The eagle-faced man's expression was ferocious. At his command, the Fey Immortals and Fey Immortals showed signs of madness. They ignored everything and rushed towards Chu Fengmian and Luya. What are they trying to do? Luya's expression changed. She had also noticed the peculiarity. Chu Fengmian's expression changed when he glanced at them. Retreat. Chu Fengmian grabbed Luya and retreated with explosive speed. You want to retreat? You don't have a chance. Both of you will die here today. The eagle-faced man laughed loudly. Some of the Fey Immortals and Fey Immortals had already closed in on Chu Fengmian. The moment they got close to Chu Fengmian, their bodies began to rapidly expand. Then, all of their flesh and blood burst out at this moment, turning into a terrifying explosion. A quasi-emperor self-destructed just like that. Boom! A terrifying blood mist swept towards the surroundings. Chu Fengmian could clearly see that this blood mist had been specially refined. It was not inferior to any potent poison. Once one was contaminated by it, one would die without a doubt. Jianwang change. Chu Fengmian grabbed Luya and directly activated the power of Jianwang change. In an instant, they retreated dozens of miles and escaped the blood mist. At the same time, Chu Fengmian's expression was not ugly. What a ruthless method. Not only did the restriction turn these Fey Immortals into slaves, but it also refined their flesh and blood. Once activated, it would cause them to self-destruct. Chapter 1258. Escape? Let's see if you can escape for a while, but can you escape for the rest of your life? The eagle-faced man smiled viciously. Following his orders, 7 or 8 cultivators flew toward Chu Fengmian. These cultivators were already under the control of the restrictions and couldn't resist at all. They could only follow the eagle-faced man's orders and fly toward Chu Fengmian. When they got close to Chu Fengmian, their flesh changed drastically and they exploded. The power of a quasi-emperor's self-destruction was something that even first or second tribulation true emperors would be wary of. Moreover, these quasi-emperors' self-destruction forced Chu Fengmian to retreat repeatedly. Damn it, I can't use my full strength now, or else, murderous intent flashed in Chu Fengmian's eyes. With his current strength, once he used his full strength, he would be able to sweep the place. However, Chu Fengmian also knew that his every move in the Nether Ghost realm was being watched by several Emperor Gu. Small fights might not attract their attention, but once Chu Fengmian used his full strength, he would definitely attract the attention of those Emperor Gu. This made Chu Fengmian feel somewhat sullen, as if he had power but couldn't use it. Let's leave first. Chu Fengmian's mind spun and made a decision in an instant. Instead of wasting time here, it was better to take a step back first. He grabbed Luya and used the power of the Jianwang transformation to cross 100 miles in an instant. The Jianwang transformation tore through space at an extremely fast speed. Even sovereigns couldn't stop Chu Fengmian. Before the quasi-emperors self-destructed, Chu Fengmian and Luya's figures disappeared on the spot. Damn it, I actually let them escape. I felt an innate divine beast on that brat. He's actually a cultivator with an innate divine beast bloodline. As for that woman, if we gave her to the blood noble first, we could have gained a lot of benefits. I didn't expect that so many quasi-emperors would die and all our efforts would be in vain. The eagle-faced man cursed angrily as he watched Chu Fengmian and Luya disappear. He originally thought that Chu Fengmian and Luya were already his. As long as he gave them to the blood noble first, he would be able to gain great benefits. However, Xiaochen had lost many quasi-emperors while Chu Fengmian and Luya managed to escape unscathed. This was simply a double loss. However, in the Nether Ghost realm, even if they escaped, they wouldn't be able to get far. This matter is of great importance, so I have to report it to young noble blood first. The eagle-faced man's eyes flickered. After pondering for a moment, he suddenly took out a jade talisman. After saying a few words, the jade talisman turned into a ray of bloodlight and flew away. 4 to 6 hours later, in a valley, the eagle-faced man flew over alone. There were at least 1,000 martial artists and demon immortals in the valley. They were all standing at the side, guarding the place respectfully. The bodies of these martial artists and Fey immortals were also implanted with restrictions, turning them into slaves. In the deepest part of the valley, there was an extremely tall throne. A red-clothed young man was seated on the throne. Beside the red-clothed man stood 2 young girls who would occasionally pour wine for him and massage his shoulders. Lin Shui, What is it? Didn't I tell you to kill the devils outside? The red-clothed man glanced at the eagle-nosed man named Lin Shui and asked with a frown. Moreover, you lost many quasi-emperors. Reporting to young Master Shui. It's like this. When I was chasing after the demon race, I suddenly discovered a man and a woman. That woman is only a quasi-emperor, but she possesses a total of 20 heavenly laws. As for the man beside her, he is even more astonishing. From his body, I could sense the bloodline of an innate divine beast. Lin Shui knelt before young noble blood and respectfully reported. However, this subordinate is incompetent. I was unable to capture the two of them and offer them to young noble blood. Oh? What did the man and woman look like? Young noble blood's eyes flickered when he heard Lin Shui's words. This is what the man and woman look like. Lin Shui waved his hand, and a water mirror formed in front of young noble blood. The water mirror displayed the appearances of Chu Fengmian and Luya, who had just fought with Lin Shui. Tianlong Bien? As expected, it's the bloodline of primogenitor Tianlong. Moreover, it seems like he's from the sacred dragon secret realm. I didn't expect there to be such a person besides Mu Bai in this batch of newcomers. Young noble blood opened his eyes and glanced at Chu Fengmian's bloodline clearly. The power of an innate divine beast was unique. At his level, he could easily identify Chu Fengmian's bloodline with a single glance. As for the woman, young noble blood sized up Chu Fengmian, and his gaze moved away from Chu Fengmian and landed on Luya. It's her. Young noble blood's eyes flashed with surprise when he saw Luya's appearance. You know this woman? Lin Shui asked when he saw young noble blood's reaction. That's right. I've heard of this woman. It's said that she has some relationship with Emperor Gu. Young noble blood revealed a hint of lust when he saw Luya's gaze. That's right. This person is qualified to be my concubine. But what about the Fengho ancient emperor? When Lin Shui heard about Emperor Gu, his expression became a little unnatural. Emperor Gu was the Grand Elder of the Sacred Dragon Secret Realm. Although he was young, he was already a famous big shot. Lin Shui couldn't help but feel fearful when he heard that Luya had some relationship with Emperor Gu. What's there to be afraid of? So what if she's Emperor Gu? My father is also an 8 calamity Emperor Gu. Moreover, my father is stronger than him. I'm not going to kill her. I'm just going to take her as my concubine. The more young noble blood looked at Luya, the more excited he became. The unique secret technique I've cultivated can allow me to have sex with yin and yang. The higher the potential of my concubine, the better it will be for me. Moreover, with this woman, I might be able to have some relationship with Emperor Gu. Sooner or later, I'll make Emperor Gu my woman. It's said that there are 2 outstanding geniuses in the Sacred Dragon Secret Realm. They're called Hanueli and Luoshi. Anyway, after this woman becomes my woman, she'll become one of my chess pieces in the Sacred Dragon Secret Realm. She'll be able to help me dominate the Sacred Dragon Secret Realm. There was no excitement in young noble blood's eyes. He was a lawless person. Even when facing Emperor Gu, he wasn't afraid at all. Go and bring the woman back. As for the man, kill him and take away his bloodline. Young noble blood ordered. The few of you, follow Lin Shui and look for the search officers. The 2 of them must still be nearby. Yes. Chapter 1259. In the Nether Ghost Realm. 2 figures were traveling together. They were Chu Fengmian and Luya. The 2 of them used Tianlong's power to leave. After leaving, they continued to wander in the Nether Ghost Realm, hunting demons. Thank you for your help, young master. Luya looked at Chu Fengmian with a complicated expression. This was the second time Chu Fengmian had saved her. She did not have time to repay his kindness the first time. This was the second time. It's just a small matter. Chu Fengmian said casually. To him, saving Luya was not a big deal. He only regretted that he could not kill the eagle-faced man. If he could use his full strength, killing the eagle-faced man would be as easy as crushing an ant. However, in the Nether Ghost realm, he was restricted everywhere. He was somewhat unhappy. Young Master, that person is young Master Shue's subordinate. Today, you've provoked young Master Shue. I'm afraid there will be a lot of hidden dangers. Luya hesitated for a moment before speaking. Young Master Shue? Oh right, what is the origin of this young Master Shue? Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered with killing intent. This young Master Shue's behavior was indeed boundlessly arrogant. One must know that geniuses who could enter the sacred dragon secret realm or Qi Linshan had powerful backgrounds. Every single one of them had a significant background. If they didn't have any background, they wouldn't be able to cultivate such a high aptitude. However, this young Master Shue did not care at all. He directly went to kill other martial artists and demon gods. He simply did not put anyone in his eyes. Furthermore, even Emperor Gu, who was in charge of monitoring, did not act to stop this young Master Shue. This young Master Shue's background was probably shocking. This young Master Shue is the only son of Blood God Emperor Gu. It is said that he was born when Blood God Emperor Gu was 10,000 years old. He is very doted on by Blood God Emperor Gu and has been lawless since he was young. However, this person's aptitude has also reached a heaven-defying level. When he was in the immortal realm, he was able to condense 20 laws of heaven and earth. Now that he has become a quasi-emperor, he is probably a genius with at least 40 laws of heaven and earth. With heaven-defying aptitude, this person is very doted on in the Avalon of 5 elements. Under the protection of Blood God Emperor Gu, no one dares to provoke him. Even young Master Mu doesn't dare to provoke him. Luya slowly opened her mouth and said. Clearly, she had some understanding of this bloody young master. That's a powerful character. He has a powerful background. Chu Fengmian was surprised when he heard about Blood Prince's background. Chu Fengmian had heard of Blood God Emperor Gu before. He was a famous Emperor Gu who had reached the realm of 8 calamities. Emperor Gu. The Blood God Emperor Gu had always been known for being cruel and protective of his disciples. If his disciples were killed outside, the Blood God Emperor Gu would step in and massacre them. Moreover, this blood noble was the only son of the Blood God Emperor Gu. He was doted on by the Blood God Emperor Gu. It was no wonder that no one dared to offend him. Whoever offended this blood noble was equivalent to offending the Blood God Emperor Gu. The 8 calamities. Emperor Gu was a supreme elder in the sacred dragon secret dimension. As long as this blood noble didn't meet his match, he was indeed a tyrannical and unstoppable character. With such a powerful background, no wonder he dares to be so arrogant. Chu Fengmian's lips curled into a cold smile. No matter how powerful the background was, it was meaningless to Chu Fengmian. As long as Chu Fengmian wanted to kill someone, he wouldn't care about their background. No matter how powerful their background was, they couldn't stop Chu Fengmian. Suddenly, Chu Fengmian raised his head and couldn't help but frown. Looks like this matter can't be settled peacefully. What's wrong, young master? Luya looked at Chu Fengmian's frown and couldn't help but ask. She had always been respectful to Chu Fengmian and addressed him as young master. Looks like that blood noble is still planning to kill us. Look. Chu Fengmian's mind moved and suddenly pointed his finger. The void started to tremble, and a line of blood suddenly appeared. A line of blood appeared on both Chu Fengmian and Luya's bodies. The line of blood had been following Chu Fengmian and Luya. Regardless of whether it was the two of them, it would always follow them. Secret tracking technique. Luya's face turned pale. Once the secret technique was used, Chu Fengmian and Luya wouldn't be able to escape no matter where they ran to. Looks like Blood Noble has already sent people to kill us. However, it doesn't matter. There are many people who want to kill me. I'd like to see what tricks this Blood Noble has. Chu Fengmian's eyes were filled with murderous intent. After witnessing Blood Noble's tricks, Chu Fengmian was determined to kill him. Moreover, even if Chu Fengmian decided to let Blood Noble go, Blood Noble wouldn't let Chu Fengmian go. Looks like I have to reveal some of my trump cards. Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. Originally, he didn't want to reveal too many of his trump cards. However, it would be more troublesome if he continued to hide them. Moreover, Chu Fengmian had a unique trick up his sleeve this time. A figure was faintly discernible behind Chu Fengmian. This figure's appearance was exactly the same as Chu Fengmian's. This figure was none other than the Heart Demon King. The Heart Demon clan was also part of the demon race. However, they were the most mysterious branch of the demon race. After coming to the Nether Ghost region, Chu Fengmian felt that the Heart Demon King seemed to be more active. In this place where demonic intent was everywhere, the Heart Demon King was like a fish in water. Chu Fengmian originally didn't want to reveal the Heart Demon King so early. However, after encountering Blood Noble, Chu Fengmian changed his mind. "Follow me." Chu Fengmian grabbed Luya and turned into a streak of light, flying in a certain direction. Chu Fengmian didn't need to waste his breath. Luya followed closely behind. Luya no longer trusted Chu Fengmian. If Chu Fengmian wanted to harm her, he would have had 10,000 chances to do so. The two of them flew towards the depths of the Nether Ghost region. Hundreds of miles away, several blood-red streaks of light were following this blood-red line. These streaks of light were Lin Shui and his group. They were now following the bloodline and chasing after Chu Fengmian and Luya. Oh? Those two are actually going to the depths of the Nether Ghost region. Do they think that they can escape by fleeing to the depths of the Nether Ghost region? Unfortunately, the people that Blood Young Noble wants to kill, no matter where they run to, will still die. Lin Shui said with a sinister smile. "Let's go. Those two can't have gone far." Chapter 1260. It's around here. Chu Fengmian and Luya flew all the way. Chu Fengmian kept looking around. Finally, a valley came into Chu Fengmian's sight. This valley was filled with dense devilish intent. It used to be the cave abode of a two-tribulation true emperor. Later on, the Devil King wanted to ambush Chu Fengmian but was slain by Chu Fengmian instead. This valley was the place with the densest demonic will within a radius of 100 miles. This valley? Luya looked at the valley with a hint of worry in her eyes. The demonic will in the valley made her somewhat fearful. In such a valley, there must be a terrifying demon race hidden there. "Don't worry, let's go in." Chu Fengmian's figure flashed as he grabbed Luya and stepped into the valley. As soon as they entered the valley, the dense demon will gave birth to numerous demon clans. They bombarded Chu Fengmian and Yi Shiwen from all directions. The demonic will in this valley was so dense that it could give birth to terrifying demonic creatures at any time. For example, most of the devil race in the realm of Nether Ghosts weren't from the ancient era. Most of the devil race were born in the land of Devil Will. In the devil race, only the devil race with noble bloodlines had been passed down from the ancient times. For example, the Azura that Chu Fengmian had killed before was passed down from his bloodline. Seeing the countless demons condensing, Luya instantly condensed her spiritual power and prepared to attack, but she was stopped by Chu Fengmian. "You don't need to do anything. Come out, inner Devil King." Chu Fengmian softly muttered to himself. The Heart Demon King, who had always been like Chu Fengmian's shadow, slowly appeared behind Chu Fengmian. The king of the inner demons looked exactly like Chu Fengmian when he stood beside him. However, it didn't have a faint dragon aura like Chu Fengmian. Instead, it had a frightening devilish intent. Luya's heart was in turmoil the moment she saw the king of inner demons. It was as if the inner demons in her heart were about to break out of her body. "Suppress." Chu Fengmian saw Luya's change and snorted coldly. His dragon's might immediately enveloped Luya's body. Within Luya's body, the heart demon that had just risen was once again suppressed. The Heart Demon King was not only able to stir up the heart demon in other people's hearts, but it was also able to help others suppress the heart demon. Therefore, although martial artists who cultivated the heart demon Dao were constantly in contact with heart demons, they would never be affected by heart demons. What is this? Why do I feel that even my inner demons are affected? Is he going to wake up? Luya stared at the king of the inner demons in disbelief. She had only glanced at the king of the inner demons, and she had already been greatly affected. Luya could feel that the power of the king of the inner demon had been restrained. Otherwise, once the power of the king of the inner demon erupted, she would definitely not be able to withstand it. The inner demon would definitely break out of her body and take over her body. Luya shuddered when she thought about how she had almost been possessed by her inner demon and became its slave. She could not help but take a few steps back. This is the king of the inner demons, a devil that I have subdued from the heart scar peak. Chu Fengmian said casually. At the same time, he pointed at the demonic creatures and said to the king of the inner demons, "Go!" Boom! The king of the inner demons instantly took action upon hearing Chu Fengmian's order. Its body expanded countless times in the air and it suddenly opened its mouth. Countless devils were swallowed by it on the spot. Most of these devils were not even quasi-emperors. Their devil bones were meaningless to the test of the sacred dragon's secret domain. They would be directly devoured by the king of the inner demons. Heart Scar Peak? Luya thought for a moment and her expression suddenly changed. This is the Heart Scar Peak's Heart Scar Peak? Luya had also entered the sacred dragon's secret domain and had heard various rumors about the Heart Scar Peak. It was said that the Heart Scar Peak had a 9 true emperor's Heart Scar Peak that constantly affected it. Even many elders and even some grand elders were unable to subdue this Heart Scar Peak. I thought even the grand elders were unable to subdue this Heart Scar Peak. It was actually subdued by the young noble? Luya said in disbelief. This Heart Scar Peak had existed in the sacred dragon's secret domain for tens of thousands of years. Even the grand elders were unable to subdue it. One had to know that the grand elders of the sacred dragon's secret domain were all 7 tribulation emperors and Emperor Gu. Chu Fengmian was able to do something that even Emperor Gu was unable to do. It's not that they are unable to subdue it, it's just that they don't want to provoke it. Subduing a Heart Scar Peak doesn't depend on one's cultivation, but on one's Tao heart. Chu Fengmian smiled casually. Indeed, if Emperor Gu rashly provoked the king of the Heart Scar Peak, it would bring about countless troubles and even endless troubles in the future. That was why Emperor Gu didn't want to provoke it. Only Chu Fengmian had an invincible Tao heart and was confident that the king of the Heart Scar Peak wouldn't be able to affect him in the slightest. This was why he dared to subdue it. That blood noble actually dared to come after me. Today, I'll kill a few of his dogs first. I'll settle the score with him later. Killing intent surged in Chu Fengmian's eyes. Chu Fengmian had originally wanted to kill the bloody young noble. Now, the bloody young noble wanted to hunt Chu Fengmian down. If he didn't go on a killing spree, he would be letting down his Tao heart. It was Chu Fengmian's character to seek revenge for the slightest mistake. Even the heart demon of Heart Scar Peak has been subdued by young master. No wonder young master doesn't put young master Shui in his eyes. Luya looked at Chu Fengmian, and her heart was in turmoil. The more time she spent with Chu Fengmian, the more she couldn't see through him. Chu Fengmian, who came from the ancient Fei continent, was even more monstrous than young master Mu and young master Shui. However, now that she saw the king of the inner demons, Luya felt relieved. The king of the mental demons was an existence that even Emperor Gu did not find difficult to deal with. Dealing with a few quasi-emperors was a piece of cake. Even if the Blood Prince were to come in person, he wouldn't be a match for the king of inner demons. Let me see the true power of the king of the inner demons. Chu Fengmian muttered to himself. Chapter 1261. Outside the Valley. Booknet. Not long after Chu Fengmian and Lin Shui arrived, several streaks of blood-red light followed and flew over. Lin Shui, are those 2 fellows hiding in the valley? The streaks of blood-red light were Lin Shui's group. They arrived outside the valley and stopped in the sky, overlooking it. That's right. The bloodline secret technique that Bloody Prince bestowed upon me has been engraved into their bodies. Even if they flee to the ends of the earth, they won't be able to escape my pursuit. Lin Shui stretched out his hand slightly. Look! A bloodline appeared in the palm of Lin Shui's hand. This bloodline connected to the interior of the valley. Do those two fellows really think that they can escape? After provoking Bloody Prince, it's useless no matter where they run. A disciple of the Avalon of 5 Elements standing beside Lin Shui said coldly. Let's set up a formation to seal off the valley, just in case. All right. Lin Shui nodded. Last time, Chu Fengmian had escaped with Lu Ye right in front of him, preventing him from killing Chu Fengmian. Having learned his lesson, he dared not let his guard down this time. Formation, rise. Lin Shui and the other 3 venerables immediately spread out and surrounded the 4 corners of the valley. Their spiritual energy condensed and soared into the sky. The 4 people's spiritual energy condensed together and transformed into a huge formation. This formation immediately enveloped the entire valley. Within this formation, streaks of blood-red light could be seen. With this blood-sealing formation, those 2 fellows won't be able to escape even if they have wings. Lin Shui's face turned ferocious. Let's see how they can escape this time. Escape? Who says I'm planning to escape? Suddenly, a voice was heard from the valley. At the same time, 2 figures slowly walked out of the valley. At the same time, Chu Fengmian's gaze fell on Lin Shui's group of 4. The most powerful of the 4 was the man holding a sword beside Lin Shui. Chu Fengmian felt 25 strands of the order of heaven and earth from his body. He was even more powerful than Lu Ye. As for Lin Shui and the others, each of them had about 20 nomological laws of heaven and earth. At the level of a quasi-emperor, one could possess 20 laws of the universe. Such a person would not be considered weak among the official disciples of the sacred dragon secret domain. At the very least, he would be a trusted aide of young Master Shui. That's right. If it were some weaklings, they wouldn't be worth me using the King of Inner Demons. Chu Fengmian's lips curled into a smile. On the other side. When Lin Shui and the others heard this voice, they were stunned. Then, they looked over. Brat. Lin Shui's eyes were filled with killing intent. Seems like you're an expert. You can actually tell that we're here. It's a pity that you discovered it a little too late today. Today, this valley has already been enveloped by the blood-sealing Great Array. Even if you possess the bloodline of the founder, Jianwang, you can forget about escaping alive. Under the blood-sealing array, the space around the valley had been condensed to an indestructible degree. It was extremely difficult to break through the space. Brat, are you the one who wants to make an enemy out of young Master Shui? A disciple of the Avalon of 5 Elements standing beside Lin Shui sized up Chu Fengmian. His eyes were filled with disdain as he spoke. I was wondering who he was, but it turns out that he's just an immortal realm brat. Lin Shui, it seems like you're getting worse as you live. You can't even deal with an immortal realm brat and let him escape? This brat is full of tricks. Be careful. Lin Shui's expression was somewhat ugly. As a quasi-emperor, he had led an army of hundreds of martial artists and demon gods to deal with Chu Fengmian. However, Chu Fengmian still managed to escape unscathed. The words of the Avalon of 5 Elements disciple had poked at his sore spot. Stop talking nonsense. Let's finish what young Master Shui asked us to do first. Another disciple of the Avalon of 5 Elements slowly spoke. Kill this brat and bring that girl back. Young Master Shui will be happy if we offer the bloodline of the founder, Jianwang. Once we complete this task, we'll all have contributed greatly. Stop talking nonsense with this brat. Let's attack. Lin Shui snorted coldly. Without hesitation, he suddenly charged towards Chu Fengmian. Great blood handprint. With a loud roar, he unleashed his trump card. The blood chi that filled the sky began to converge into a huge blood-red palm in Lin Shui's palm. It suddenly pressed down. This blood-red palm enveloped both Chu Fengmian and Lu Ye. As the palm struck out, the valley began to collapse and shatter. What a mysterious technique! Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered as he exclaimed in his heart. Lin Shui's strength was definitely the strongest among the quasi-emperors that Chu Fengmian had ever fought. Although Chu Fengmian had seen young Master Mu before and knew that his strength was definitely superior to Lin Shui's, Chu Fengmian had never truly fought young Master Mu. However, after exchanging blows with Lin Shui, Chu Fengmian finally understood what a genius was. As expected of a disciple of the Avalon of Five Elements, a force comparable to the sacred dragon mystery domain. Once such a genius stepped into the Emperor realm in the future, he would at least become a three-tribulation true Emperor. He would be able to stand on equal footing with existences like ancient Spell Island Lord. It's a pity that you met me today. However, no matter how monstrous a genius was, he would pale in comparison to Chu Fengmian. Although Lin Shui was strong, his opponent today was Chu Fengmian. Fight! Chu Fengmian's mind moved. The battle dragon claw condensed above his head. The countless arrays on the battle dragon claw were all activated in an instant. It directly transformed into the sky-tearing claw and collided with the blood-red palm in the air. Why aren't you guys attacking? Kill this brat first. Lin Shui's expression changed slightly when he saw the sky-tearing claw. He deeply understood the power of the sky-tearing claw after exchanging blows with Chu Fengmian. With his strength, he could at most stand on equal footing with Chu Fengmian. However, he alone was far from being able to defeat Chu Fengmian. Bloodslaughter Sword, rise! Before Lin Shui could finish speaking, the three people standing beside him had already attacked at the same time. The moment the sky-tearing claw appeared, they could no longer hold back and attacked at the same time. They could all feel the power of the sky-tearing claw. Chapter 1262. One Sword. Blood Break. The disciple of the Avalon of Five Elements was the first to attack. He unsheathed his sword, and in an instant, blood gushed out. Now, a line of blood was pointing at Chu Fengmian. The moment the man unsheathed his sword, he pushed all the power in his body to the extreme. A total of 25 laws of the heavens and earth erupted and merged with the tip of the sword. It was a fatal sword. This sword was aimed at Chu Fengmian and slashed. Chu Fengmian did not move at all when he saw this sword. He did not even try to dodge. However, a figure appeared behind Chu Fengmian. This figure was exactly the same as Chu Fengmian, as if it was a second Chu Fengmian. However, this figure was surging with demonic intent, as if an ancient demonic god had descended upon the world. Woo woo woo. When the demon god descended, tens of thousands of demons submitted. Countless demon intents around the nether ghost realm attacked this figure. What is this thing? Lin Shui and the others suddenly looked over. Their eyes were filled with horror. This demon intent was even more powerful than an Emperor Realm Demon King. Demon race. Chu Fengmian, you actually colluded with the demon race. Lin Shui looked at Chu Fengmian and cursed. Colluded with the demon race? Heart Demon King, show yourself. Hearing Lin Shui's words, Chu Fengmian sneered. The figure of the Heart Demon King was completely revealed. When Lin Shui and the others saw the Heart Demon King, they suddenly felt as if they had fallen into an illusion. Their eyes were dreamy, as if they were in an illusory world. Behind them, shadows appeared one after another. Heart Demon. Not good. How could our inner demons be triggered all of a sudden? What the hell is this thing? How could it trigger our heart demons? Lin Shui and the others' faces changed drastically. They did not have time to suppress their heart demons before they broke through the ground. Pooh! Lin Shui and the others spat out large mouthfuls of blood. As soon as the inner demon appeared, the spiritual power in their bodies began to devour their bodies. Mental demons were illusory, but they were also one of the existences that countless warriors and fey gods feared the most. Typically, mental demons would break out of one's body when one let down their guard during cultivation. But now, in the middle of a battle, this heart demon suddenly appeared and began to devour him. Even an ancient emperor would not be able to withstand such a backlash. Even though Lin Shui and the others were using all their strength to suppress their inner demons, they were still unable to do so. Under the control of the Heart Demon King, the Heart Demon power of Lin Shui and the others swelled several times, constantly devouring them. In an instant, the encirclement of Lin Shui and the others dissipated. None of them could even protect themselves. Is this the terror of that inner demon? They immediately came before Chu Fengmian and respectfully knelt before him. This is... Luya didn't even have time to react to the sudden change in the situation. She was just about to attack and kill Lin Shui and the others while they were being held back by the Heart Demon. However, Chu Fengmian's casual order caused Lin Shui and the others to respectfully kneel down. She could not understand this change for a moment. Puppets, have they already become puppets? Luya was after all an experienced and knowledgeable person. After observing for a moment, she clearly saw the changes in Lin Shui and the others. They have already become the Heart Demon's puppets. However, why are they obeying your orders? Luya hesitated for a moment and suddenly asked. Heart Demon puppets were not rare. Chapter 1263. Once the inner demon took advantage of the situation and took over the body, the person would become an inner demon puppet. Luya didn't quite understand. Such a puppet should have been controlled by the inner demon and turned into a lunatic. Why would it listen to Chu Fengmian's orders? Of course it's because of the inner demon king. Chu Fengmian understood Luya's thoughts, but he didn't explain. The existence of the king of the mental demons was still too little known. In fact, many ancient emperors might not even have truly understood the king of the mental demons. Otherwise, the inner demon king wouldn't have stayed at Heart Scar Peak and ended up in Chu Fengmian's hands. The inner demon king wasn't just capable of suppressing inner demons and drawing out the inner demons of others, it could also control inner demon puppets. If it wasn't for the 9 realms having a demon heart true emperor before, Chu Fengmian wouldn't have known that there was such an existence in this world. Chu Fengmian sat on the throne and looked at Lin Shui and the others. He suddenly pointed at the sky and extracted a golden light from the heads of the 4. Luya could see that the golden light was actually strands of worldly laws. Just like that, Chu Fengmian forcibly extracted them. The 4 of them had a total of 90 strands of worldly laws. Chu Fengmian had extracted all of them and swallowed them into his body. Most of these worldly laws aren't suitable for me, but some of them are very similar to my power. Chu Fengmian was no longer a hothead. He understood that the worldly laws couldn't be swallowed in large quantities. A sovereign cultivator could only unleash the greatest power by swallowing the worldly laws that were similar to his own. If he swallowed them carelessly, it would be extremely chaotic and would hurt his own worldly laws. It was better not to do so. Among the 4, only the sword-wielding man's worldly laws were of some use to Chu Fengmian. There were about 15 of them. The remaining 75 laws of heaven and earth were completely useless. Swallow. Chu Fengmian picked out 15 useful worldly laws and immediately activated the Sky Devourer's secret art to swallow them. Lin Shui and the others had become inner demon puppets. Their essence had fallen, so the worldly laws were ownerless and easy to refine. Immediately, the 15 laws of the heavens and earth merged into Chu Fengmian's body. However, at the same time, a total of 15 nomological laws of heaven and earth flew out from Chu Fengmian's body. Chu Fengmian had recklessly devoured these 15 laws of heaven and earth before he understood them. Although it could be used by Chu Fengmian to fight against enemies, it wasn't suitable for Chu Fengmian. It could be used temporarily, but in the end, it had to be changed to a law of heaven and earth that was suitable for Chu Fengmian. Now, Chu Fengmian's goal was to transform the laws of heaven and earth in his body into laws of heaven and earth suitable for Chu Fengmian. Of the 300 laws of heaven and earth in Chu Fengmian's body, at least half had nothing to do with Chu Fengmian's sword Dao and bloodline. This half of the world's laws could be directly taken away. However, in order to maintain his current strength, Chu Fengmian could not do so. He could only swap it out bit by bit. Right now, Chu Fengmian's body only had 300 strands of nomological laws of heaven and earth. However, in terms of strength, it was clearly a step higher than before. In Chu Fengmian's palm was a ball of golden light. It was the condensation of the 90 worldly laws. These worldly laws were useless against Chu Fengmian. You can take any of these laws of heaven and earth that are useful to you. Chu Fengmian suddenly said to Luya. For me? Luya was stunned when she heard Chu Fengmian's words. It seemed that she hadn't expected this. After all, Chu Fengmian had killed Lin Shui and the others by himself. She hadn't helped at all. In fact, it was also because of Chu Fengmian's help that Luya was able to escape unscathed from Lin Shui. Chu Fengmian was generous enough to not ask for any reward. However, Chu Fengmian wanted to give her the laws of heaven and earth. Every law of heaven and earth was extraordinarily valuable. Even in some ancient trading companies, there would be auctions of the laws of heaven and earth. Every law of heaven and earth was extraordinarily valuable. Not bad. The 7 or 8 laws of heaven and earth in here should be suitable for you. Chu Fengmian observed Luya and could tell that the 7 or 8 laws of heaven and earth were suitable for Luya. These are yours. Chu Fengmian pointed his finger. A total of 8 laws of heaven and earth flew out and landed in front of Luya. As for the remaining laws of heaven and earth, Chu Fengmian directly put them into his empty ring. Chu Fengmian had heard that some ancient trading companies used the laws of heaven and earth for transactions. Even the transactions between experts were no longer transactions of spirit stones but barter. The laws of heaven and earth were extremely valuable items. Keeping them would be a great fortune. Thank you, young master. Luya glanced at the laws of heaven and earth in front of her and didn't hesitate to put them away. After the battle with Lin Shui, Luya understood that although her current strength wasn't the same as before, she still couldn't be considered an expert. After receiving the laws of heaven and earth, Luya sat down to meditate and began to refine them. With the blood-sealing grand formation in the valley was impregnable. No one could disturb them. The laws of heaven and earth that are beneficial to me are only the dragon race and the sword Dao. It seems that I need to kill more dragon demon gods or sword Dao cultivators. Chu Fengmian still had a total of 135 laws of heaven and earth that needed to be replaced. This number was even more than the laws of a 3-tribulation true emperor. Unless Chu Fengmian was lucky enough to kill 3 or 4 3-tribulation true emperors in a row and steal their laws of heaven and earth, he wouldn't be able to replace them all. However, it was easier said than done to find a 3-tribulation true emperor. Now that Chu Fengmian understood the wonders of the laws of heaven and earth, he also understood that his previous method of channeling them was too crude. Directly condensing the laws of heaven and earth to smash people was the same as a sovereign throwing a rock at someone. For example, Lin Shui's group had already integrated the laws of heaven and earth into their martial arts and sword techniques. Different methods of channeling the same laws of heaven and earth would result in several times more power. Although Chu Fengmian had comprehended the laws of heaven and earth, many of them were useless. Wu Yongqia's laws of heaven and earth were like impurities. Not only could he not channel them, but they also affected Chu Fengmian and made him uncomfortable. There can be no construction without destruction. Although my power will weaken after losing 135 laws of heaven and earth, once I integrate the remaining laws into my sword techniques, my power won't necessarily decrease. Chapter 1264. He made a prompt decision. Inside the sacred dragon's secret domain, Chu Fengmian would encounter fewer dangers than outside. Since that was the case, it was better to take advantage of this opportunity to break and rebuild in the Nether Ghost realm. Come out! Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. Behind him, rays of golden light were continuously extracted from the divine vein. Stripping the worldly laws was a painless process. These worldly laws represented the source of the sovereign's power. Every time a worldly law was stripped, Chu Fengmian felt his strength decrease. However, Chu Fengmian didn't care. One by one, the worldly laws were being stripped by Chu Fengmian. A full hour passed. Chu Fengmian's clothes were soaked with sweat. Stripping a worldly law was painless, Not to mention that Chu Fengmian was stripping a total of 135 worldly laws in one go. This represented almost half of Chu Fengmian's strength. The more time passed, the more intense the pain Chu Fengmian felt with each strand of worldly law stripped away. Finally, when another ray of golden light was stripped from Chu Fengmian's back, his expression finally relaxed. These 135 worldly laws were all stripped by Chu Fengmian. After losing 135 worldly laws, Chu Fengmian felt a sense of weakness. It was as if he had lost 1/3 of his strength. Chu Fengmian's current strength was around the peak of a 3-tribulation true emperor. It was at least 1/3 of his strength. Moreover, he had to endure a great deal of pain. However, it was all worth it. The corners of Chu Fengmian's mouth curled into a smile because he felt a sense of relief when all 135 worldly laws were stripped away. It was as if all the impurities in his body had been stripped away, leaving behind only 165 worldly laws. However, in terms of controlling the worldly laws, Chu Fengmian's current attainments were many times stronger than before. Battle Dragon Claw. Chu Fengmian's mind silently chanted. The Battle Dragon Claw condensed above Chu Fengmian's head. However, this time, Chu Fengmian deliberately integrated a part of the worldly laws into the Battle Dragon Claw. As soon as the Battle Dragon Claw appeared, a terrifying worldly power swept over. The claw contained the power of the world. Boom! A claw slammed out in the air, tearing a crack in the space. Even though Chu Fengmian's power had been weakened, he was still able to fight back. In terms of power, the Battle Dragon Claw was even more powerful than the previous one. My strength has weakened, but it doesn't affect me much in terms of fighting. Chu Fengmian gave it a try and felt relieved. Chu Fengmian had a lot of enemies. If his strength suddenly weakened, there would be a lot of trouble. Now it seemed that Chu Fengmian's strength had only weakened, but when facing the enemy, there was only a slight difference. For Chu Fengmian, this was still acceptable. I wonder what good things are in Lin Shue's empty rings. Suddenly, Chu Fengmian moved his hand and 4 empty rings appeared. They were Lin Shue's and the others' empty rings. After Chu Fengmian extracted the natural laws of heaven and earth, he killed Lin Shue and the others. Their essence blood was devoured by the heaven-devouring secret skill and absorbed by the God Tree. Only these 4 empty rings were left. After all, Lin Shui and the others were disciples of the Avalon of 5 elements. They were also the confidants of Prince Shui. There should be a lot of good things in their empty rings. There's only so little. Chu Fengmian first opened Lin Shue's empty ring. Chu Fengmian glanced inside and found that it was extremely empty. There were only 2 gourds placed inside. As for the rest, there was only a pile of spiritual stones in the corner. However, Chu Fengmian didn't care about these spiritual stones at all. They were just royal grade and royal grade spiritual stones. Now, Chu Fengmian could easily condense sacred grade spiritual stones. To Chu Fengmian, no amount of spiritual stones would be of any use. To Chu Fengmian, only the 2 gourds were useful. What's in this gourd looks like a pill. Chu Fengmian grabbed one of the gourds and observed it. This gourd was also a heaven-grade spiritual artifact. However, it wasn't a heaven-grade spiritual artifact. It was specially refined to contain elixirs. Many sacred-grade elixirs, once refined, would lose their medicinal efficacy at every moment. The usual method was to use spiritual jades to make jade bottles to store the elixirs. However, this kind of spiritual jade was something that could only be encountered and not sought. Therefore, many alchemists came up with a method, which was to specially find people to refine some spiritual tools that could contain spiritual medicines. For example, the surface of this gourd was engraved with countless ancient restrictions. There were even hundreds of densely packed array formations. These layers of restrictions prevented the medicinal efficacy from leaking out. Don't let me down, the elixirs inside. Chu Fengmian was looking forward to it. After all, the Avalon of 5 elements was a power on a 3rd-grade continent. The resources that a 3rd-grade continent possessed were beyond Chu Fengmian's imagination. he slowly condensed his spiritual power and pointed his finger. The restriction at the mouth of the gourd was broken, revealing a gap. Chu Fengmian's mind moved and a 5-colored elixir the size of a longan flew out from the gourd. One could vaguely see the 5 elements spirit in this elixir. It was most likely a sacred grade elixir that was refined from 5 elements sacred herbs. This is the 5 elements grade elixir? Chu Fengmian had just taken out the 5-colored elixir when a surprised voice came from beside him. Luya, who was beside him, had also refined the 8 heavenly laws and integrated them into her body. Luya's body now had a total of 28 heavenly laws and was even stronger than Lin Shui's. Her aura was also very different from before. 5 elements great elixir? What kind of elixir is this? Chu Fengmian asked curiously when he heard the name. This was the first time he had seen the 5 elements great elixir. Based on the name, it seemed to be a type of elixir unique to the Avalon of 5 elements. At least, it had never appeared in the 9 regions. This 5 elements great elixir is a type of elixir unique to the Avalon of 5 elements. It is enough to raise the cultivation of a venerable emperor. If a quasi-emperor consumes it, there is even a chance that he can condense the heavenly laws. Luya said from the side. Chapter 1265. 5 Elemental Pill? Comparable to the Jade Dragon Pill? Chu Fengmian's eyes lit up when he heard Luya's words. He now knew that one of the main reasons why forces like the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension and the Avalon of 5 Elements were able to maintain their prosperity was due to their unique elixirs. For example, the Jade Dragon Pill was the most common elixir in the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension. It was also a hard currency. According to contribution points, 1 contribution point was enough to exchange for 1 Jade Dragon Pill. For warriors below the Emperor level, refining the Jade Dragon Pill was enough to condense the laws of heaven and earth and increase their potential. For emperors and even Emperor Gu, the Jade Dragon Pill had the ability to increase their cultivation and was enough to aid their cultivation. Besides the Jade Dragon Pill, there was also the Jade Dragon Saint Pill and even the Jade Dragon Emperor Pill. It was because of the promise of a Jade Dragon Saint Pill that people were so crazy about this assessment. A Jade Dragon Saint Pill was worth 100 contribution points. Once refined by a quasi-emperor, it was enough to increase the number of laws of heaven and earth by 10. Moreover, these 10 laws of heaven and earth would be condensed by oneself and could be said to be the most suitable laws of heaven and earth. As for the more advanced Jade Dragon Emperor Pill, Chu Fengmian had only heard of it and had never seen it before. However, it was rumored that its value was a few hundred times that of the Jade Dragon Saint Pill. Most of the contribution points that the disciples of the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension exchanged were used to exchange for elixirs. It was the same for the Avalon of 5 Elements. It seemed that the 5 Elemental Pill was used by Lin Shui for cultivation. A 5 Elemental Pill like this can be exchanged for a lot of wealth in the Chamber of Commerce. Luya said with envy in her eyes. It was not easy for the disciples of the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension to earn contribution points. An ordinary disciple would only earn about 10 contribution points a year, which was equivalent to 10 5 Elemental Pills. Chu Fengmian's gourd contained a lot of 5 Elemental Pills. This is good stuff. The power of the 5 Elemental Pill contains a portion of the power of heaven and earth. If enough is refined, it is indeed enough to condense the laws of heaven and earth. Chu Fengmian took a closer look at the 5 Elemental Pill and roughly understood its effects. However, with the amount of natural energy they contained, one would need to devour at least 10 of them in order to condense a law of the natural energy. Thus, ordinary disciples of the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm would only be able to condense a single law of the heavens and earth in a year. Of course, this speed was much faster in the outside world, but it was still far from Chu Fengmian's murderous intent. In Lin Shui's gourd, there were more than 500 5 Elemental Great Pills. Just the Forest Blood Great Elixir in the Forest Blood Sky Ring was equivalent to 50 years of accumulation for an ordinary Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension disciple. Of course, this was only for ordinary disciples. If it were an inner sect disciple, they might be able to accumulate this amount in a year. As for the true disciples and even the core disciples, this number was not even worth mentioning. Apart from Lin Shui, the others should also have this kind of 5 elements great pill. Chu Fengmian suddenly thought of something. Since Lin Shui had it, the other people's status was obviously not below Lin Shui's. Chu Fengmian opened the 3 spatial rings. Sure enough, each of their spatial rings had the exact same gourd. When he opened it, he saw that it was also a gourd full of 5 elements great pills. In total, there were several thousand of them. Gosh, how many 5 elements great pills are there? Lu Ya's eyes were filled with shock when she saw the densely packed 5 elements great pills. She came from a good background, but she was stunned when she saw so many 5 elements great pills. With so many 5 elements great pills, if exchanged for wealth, one could easily go to a place like the ancient monster continent and become a local tyrant. There are more than 3,000 of them. Not bad. Chu Fengmian counted. There were more than 3,000 of them. It seemed that Lin Shui and the others were very rich. Ordinary Avalon of 5 elements disciples would not have so many 5 elements great pills. Only the few of them worked for young Master Shui. Obviously, these were given by young Master Shui. I killed a few of young Master Shui's subordinates and obtained so much wealth. If I kill young Master Shui, murderous intent surged in Chu Fengmian's eyes. It was no wonder that so many people liked to do business of killing and robbing. Once they succeeded, the benefits they would obtain were simply too great. More than 3,005 elements great pills, a total of 90 worldly laws. This was Chu Fengmian's harvest this time. This kind of wealth would make some of the inner disciples in the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension envious. Chu Fengmian had only killed a few of young Master Shui's subordinates. Young Master Shui's wealth was probably hundreds or thousands of times more than this. After all, young Master Shui was the son of the Blood God Emperor Gu. Blood God Emperor Gu must have given him a lot of treasures. It's a pity that young Master Shui is so cautious. Chu Fengmian could not help but feel that it was a pity. Young Master Shui had always followed the main group of the Avalon of 5 elements. Chu Fengmian killed Lin Shui and the others today in this valley. No one knew that Chu Fengmian had done it. Even if they knew, there was no evidence. However, if Chu Fengmian swaggered out to kill young Master Shui, he would be asking for trouble. The people of the Avalon of 5 elements would definitely not let Chu Fengmian off. Chu Fengmian was not an arrogant person. His thoughts of killing young Master Shui were temporarily suppressed by Chu Fengmian. Young Master, there seems to be another gourd. While Chu Fengmian was thinking, Lu Ya suddenly spoke. Chu Fengmian turned his gaze and saw that there was another gourd in Lin Shui's empty ring. When Chu Fengmian opened it just now, there were 2 gourds. However, his attention was attracted by the 5 elements great elixir and he almost forgot about them. Break! Chu Fengmian easily broke the restriction with a finger. Just as he looked inside, his eyes suddenly lit up. Demon bones! Chu Fengmian's face could not help but reveal a look of joy. He was even more excited than when he saw the 5 elements great elixir. This gourd was filled to the brim with demon bones. The number of demon bones was simply too many for Chu Fengmian to count. Although most of them were ordinary quasi-emperor level demon bones, the points obtained were not considered many. However, there were a lot of them. There were at least 100,000 demonic bones in the gourd. 100,000 demon bones. Even if Chu Fengmian went on a killing spree, he might not be able to obtain so many demon bones. He was strong enough to kill 100,000 demons, but he had to let Chu Fengmian find them first. Although the demons that Chu Fengmian hunted were strong overall and were worth more points, the number of demons he killed was far less than this gourd. You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.